Welcome to Chronic Curiosity, where we have real conversations with real people, from everything to anything, in attempts to facilitate dialogue with our fellow humans, and hopefully your curiosity as well as ours. If you can withstand the show, we ask, most importantly, that you tell your friends and family, but also you can pick up some merch or just donate to the show at chronic-curiosity.com in USD or Bitcoin. If you feel so obliged, you can give us a good rating and follow on whatever podcast platform you so choose. But please feel free to reach out to us on the website or the socials, which can also be found on the website, chronic-curiosity.com. And here we go. Be soft with them. They can, and the headphones and everything else. Yeah, the Woodinvilles are... So these are a Washington.
I've had the original. I mean, I've had just the regular Woodinville on the shelf, and I really, really like it.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite drinker is the Woodinville Port Cask.
Okay.
And they make that like fairly regular.
Yeah.
It's not exactly as store picky, but it has a little sweeter taste to it. But that's probably like if I had to choose something to drink, it'd be the Woodinville. I don't know if it's called. I've never actually done the research if it's Woodinville or Woodinville. Maybe it's because
sounds better than Woodinville.
It does, but I don't know if it's Worcester.
Rooster.
We don't say Rooster.
Yeah,
I don't.
Just depends on where you're from.
Yeah, I have no idea. But Woodinville is my
that's your go-to.
Their flavor profile is just where it's at for me.
My favorite part about and I really do like them, but they're like $60. Like you're not. It's not you can't get Willet. I mean,
oh yeah, and the Willet, and yeah, I think did you grab the?
I did.
You grabbed the Dawn?
No, I did the one that you thought was
the brandy wine.
Yeah,
the brandy wine. I don't know if that's exactly how to pronounce it either. It looks like brandy wine, but it's spelled brand
like
and it's EWIJN,
like the ski resort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if, but it's a little sweeter, so it's a good starter. It's still 118.
I was gonna say 118. That's a hell of a starter.
Yeah, but it's sweet, and the Dawn it's so amazing. I guess that's what we were talking about before. Are we recording? We're just doing it. We're good. You good?
I'm good.
Yeah. Casey, thanks for coming back. Obviously the bourbons, because we've talked before about bourbons, and you guys are doing the Father's Commitment fundraiser again this year, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
You got it. So the Woodinville, it's just like the profile is just kind of like a darker flavor to it, and for whatever reason, it just hits my taste buds the right way. But the Dawn is like, I have a couple of it's amazing. We were talking about before that we did a podcast with Chad and Josh. We said it was number 65. That we did it was probably at least like 12 different Elijah Craigs.
That had to be fun.
It's
you guys had
and it's
drunk.
like, okay.
It's had to have been drunk by the end of the
we probably got a little tipsy. But like we weren't like, we were tasting it. Yeah, and like going through, but we had Willets, because Josh is a huge fan of Willets. And Tony, obviously he brought Tony's giant duffel bag of like different things that we're trying out. But it was just fascinating to see that this is the exact same maker, and all they do is just like tweak
just a little bit,
and and the store pick. So that's why I've found like that was the fascination. I think we talked about this last time you guys were on, like just being able to find something that you can kind of gauge and go, okay, this is kind of what I like, why I like it, and discovering that and exploring that.
Yeah.
So it's super fun.
I think what I really enjoy about it is the fact that it's all extremely subjective, to how you taste it or how you smell it. So I can't be wrong. So I enjoy that. I enjoy that aspect of it.
I can't be wrong. I like not being wrong.
I enjoy that aspect of it. But I did the same thing with I've seen Old Elk on the shelves all over the state of Ohio, and I've never had it before. And they're kind of expensive. I mean, I think all the bottles are around $100. So I've never really like splurged to buy, because I didn't know a whole lot about it, and I haven't seen a whole lot of reviews done on it or anything like that. So I ended up running into somebody that had like all of them. So we ended up just trading samples.
Oh, okay.
And so I mean, literally,
Yeah.
he sent me, I think it was right around 10 samples of Old Elk. And so I made it a game with my girls. They poured, 4 or 5 of them, and I was trying to, just by the smell and the taste, just to see how good my palate was, or just to see how
Yeah.
good I was with it. And I think I was 50%. I got 2 of them right on, and
That's pretty good.
I couldn't believe it. And the girls saw it was magic, like especially we just had my oldest just had her 13th birthday today. She doesn't turn 13 until the 13th. But we had her,
Oh,
yeah,
she's a 13th.
yeah,
Me too.
yeah. So oh, no kidding.
Yeah. Not this
Not
month.
April, but
yeah,
13
a
on
13th.
13th.
Yeah.
So she was kind of impressed with me. So I was kind of like, that's kind of
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Well, it is. It's like you realize it's, we've talked about it plenty of times before. But it's like there's just something about the craft.
Yeah.
Enjoying someone else's craft and being able to decipher the differences.
Yeah.
And being able to enjoy it and what they're, whatever company it is that's doing it, or just the enjoyment of somebody else trying to create something.
Well, and it's all
just super cool.
in which I grew up on a farm, so I enjoy the fact that like all of the mash bills, all of the ingredients are it's grain, and it's all the same grain, but it's just a matter of the percentage and then how they make it, and the different intricacies on how they do it and what they're aging it in, and the different barrels, and the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
And to be able to run an entire line of the same maker and see the differences, just the little differences in each one of them, it's just fun. I find it to be
Yeah.
fun.
Well, I think it's the curiosity of it, at least for me.
Yeah.
It's realizing when realizing that when you find something that you can kind of connect with, and you can kind of go, okay, I can taste this. I can taste what I can connect with other people that
Yeah.
are enjoying it. And then realizing that they make a giant batch and they store it, and maybe all it is the barrel is a little different, or the humidity in the room is a little different, or like whatever it is. And it makes the flavor
Completely different.
It's like, okay,
Yeah.
like this is cool. Like how many different things out there do people love?
Yeah.
Collecting porcelain cat statues. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or handmade ones that have just a little, like, whatever it is. It's
Yep.
just a little bit different, and like just seeing the creativity and enjoying that someone's poured, their heart into something.
Yeah, and I think it's the idea too for just the collecting, wanting and for me too, I love the way the bottles look. I love the way they look sitting on a shelf, and it's just I don't know,
aesthetics of it.
Yeah, it's very aesthetically
It is fun.
pleasing
It's-
to me
yeah.
to look at
It's
it.
calming.
Yeah,
Right?
I enjoy it, but it's again, I think it goes back to just a little bit of a collecting for me, because I want to have the bottles that I like, and just learning, through the process of what I like. But again, at the end of the day, it's not about the bourbon, it's not about any of that. It's the people I get to share it with. And and I think I said this the last time. I got into bourbon sitting on my father-in-law's back porch, sipping some Weller, and it was the perfect night. It was great weather in Ohio, which is a good start. And just sitting on his back porch, by a fire, and just telling stories, and hearing about him growing up and things like that. It's something that resonated with me. And so that was day one. And here we are. That was probably 3 or 4 years ago. To where I'm still just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to bourbon, but I enjoy it. I really, really like it, and I enjoy the conversation. I enjoy talking about those different nuances and how it's made and what you taste as opposed to what I taste. And for me, I love the smell of it. I don't know. I love the smell of the way it, the different grains and things like that. So it's been I've done a lot in a short time, as far as the bourbons that I have and the things that I've collected, and spent way too much money, but it's fun, and finding out the people that like it too, and being able to talk to them about it, and that's kind of how Kirk and I got in touch before we started this Father's Commitment thing for the fundraising for the school. I had no idea that he was into bourbon, and he had no idea I was into bourbon. So, and it just kind of clicked, and we're like, what can we do for a fundraiser? And it just kind of made sense.
Right.
And it was just on the heels of COVID too, to where everybody was stuck at home and drinking too much, and because there was nothing else to do.
There's that too, right?
Yeah, so I think that really helped the bourbon boom. So it just made sense to us. And this is our second year doing it. When I came in here last year and did your podcast. And again, I just want to say thank you so much for letting us come in here and do this and get this out to as many people as possible.
Yeah. So why don't you, obviously we started off talking about that, but I want to get into some other things too, but
Sure.
why don't you we'll take the moment to,
Yeah,
so you're doing
I appreciate it.
at Father's.
Can you bring your mic a little bit closer?
Yep. Sorry.
Yeah.
Better?
So, oh yeah. You got a great voice. Use it, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. No one's ever told me that before, but thank you, Fred.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
It's crisp. Yeah. We don't have Tony over here to be the booming, deep, brooding guy.
That's my
in the corner.
yelling at the children voice. I'll use that voice.
But so last year, you and Kirk, who unfortunately wasn't able to make it tonight,
Mhm.
but you've put on a fundraiser for a private school that you guys are involved with, a father's commitment, and we've shared the story and we'll continue to do so.
Appreciate it.
But you're doing a bourbon raffle and an entire event to help fundraise for the school. So why don't we just let us know that the whole deal, what's going on with that, what you're doing.
Yeah. Again, so I thank you very much for letting me do this. I'm not interesting, so for you to take time
I don't know if I'd say
and to waste one of your shows on me, I do appreciate it. But yeah, so last year we decided that my kids go to St. Peter and Paul Catholic School in Doylestown. And it's a small Catholic school. Right now it's K through 8. And there's right around 80 to 100 kids that go there every year. And all three of my little girls are either enrolled there or were enrolled there. But it's the our Catholic church that it's affiliated with. It's the oldest Catholic church in the Cleveland diocese. And my wife went to school there when she was a kid, so the school's been there for a really, really long time. But with a small Catholic school, we don't collect any money from the diocese. We keep our doors open with the help from the church, and then also whatever fundraising we do. So a lot of the money that we raise to do things, it's kind of falls on the shoulder of the parents and the parishioners and people that are fond of the school. So we've ran the gamut of fundraising, obviously, to try to keep the doors open and to be able to give the kids the best possible experience and Catholic education and Catholic foundation. But I ended up bumping into Kirk, who, again, like you said, unfortunately he wasn't able to be with us tonight, but he kind of is the heart and soul of a father's commitment. But we decided to do a bourbon raffle. Him and I were both into both into bourbon. And again, on the heels of COVID, it was something in which the bourbon community has skyrocketed, and it just seems like now more than ever, there's a lot of people into bourbon. So we thought, why not let's kind of piggyback on that and see if we can't raise some money for the school. So last year we raffled off some bottles, and we did a live event around it. And
Which I won one.
Oh, did you?
I did.
I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, one of my favorite bottles that I found, the Angel's Envy, the
Wonderful.
Caribbean cask. I won it, and I was like, oh, like I like a good, sometimes like a good port cask. I told you, like the Woodinville, the port cask finish is kind of like one of my favorite. I'm not a fan of the Angel's Envy port cask.
Yeah,
but they're Caribbean.
The rum's good.
It's so
cinnamon.
good.
I really, really like it.
It's
too.
very much desserty. I like. I've mentioned it a ton of times throughout different podcasts that I won it from your guys' event.
That's awesome.
It's my favorite Christmas morning drink. To like 3/4 of a cup of coffee, a dash of the Angel's Envy,
all right,
and a little bit of hot chocolate and creamer. Oh, it's
always
delicious. It feels like a sin to mix that, but it's
delicious.
It's
delicious.
so good.
I'm the same. Rye whiskey to me, a lot of it for whatever reason, and one of the first rye whiskeys I ever tasted was a Midwinter's Night's Dram, and it's kind of it's a play on the Shakespeare play, but they're out of Utah, Salt Lake City, Utah. I can't think. I think Park City, Utah. And the very first time I ever tasted was the very first time I ever had rye whiskey. And it's a pretty hard bottle to find. But I immediately said, it tastes like a Christmas cookie. Like that was my first reaction was Christmas cookies. So now I relate rye whiskey, like the Angels envy rye, to Christmas. And I really do enjoy rye whiskey now because every time I smell it, every time I taste it, it just reminds me of Christmas morning. And I don't know why. And of course, with 3 little girls, I love Christmas morning. So I get where you're coming from. So I might do that next year.
I've got a bottle.
I got it.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Because I know last time we talked about, you guys only sell so many tickets. So it's not like there's unlimited amount of tickets that are sold. So you have a set, essentially a set percentage that you can win a bottle. And some of these bottles, I'll let you, sorry, not to like completely divert you, but
we had no idea what we were getting into. We had no idea if we were going to make a nickel. And we knew that everyone's just going to think we were alcoholics when we started it. We knew that.
Well, I want to get to that too.
Yeah. So we knew that, but
not that you're alcoholics.
No,
just that discussion.
Yeah. But we just wanted, we didn't know if we were going to raise any money. But we did. And it really did turn out, we had a goal. We didn't quite meet that goal, but we raised over $40,000 for the school, which I still can't believe. With that money, we've put 82 or 83-inch TVs in our school gym. And we've also, we updated the sound system in the gymnasium. So that you could hear, the kids' plays and presentations and things like that.
That's important because I think that's a lot. Sorry, not to distract you again, but that's an important piece that, oftentimes people think about, like schools are spending their money on a sound system. Like, is that really important? But my daughter's involved in, basic drama club, plays. Yeah. And when you have, you can pack a school full of people to like go there and watch kids to do what they're there to do, whatever it might be. And then like you realize 3/4 of the audience, especially when you're looking at grandparents and, people sitting all the way in the back, they can't hear what these kids are doing. So it's like, they can't hear them talk, and it just destroys the experience and it destroys, the experience for them to enjoy what their kids are able to be up there and like putting themselves out there to do. So when you think about it that way, it's like, okay, this is important. Like,
I'm when we decided we were going to do a father's commitment, we were going to be able to raise some money for the school. The very first thing that I thought of was we have a preschool, pre-K in St. Peter and Paul, and it's ran by Heather Ellis, who she's the greatest preschool teacher on planet Earth, and I dare anyone to come challenge me on that. The atmosphere, she's just amazing, and Maura Miller, who's her assistant, they just do a great job. But every year they do the pre-K graduation, going to go into kindergarten, and I love it. And she does such a great job, and she plays this. She does takes pictures throughout the year, and she puts them up on. We had a kind of one of those drop down screens, and it was a projector screen.
Yeah. Okay.
And the projector screen was donated, or some fundraising and paid for that. And it was great. It's awesome. It served its purpose, but the gym's very bright during the day, and there's really no way to curb that light. And so it's very difficult to see. And our sound system just wasn't very good. And I just love that pre-K presentation. She takes the pictures and she plays this. I don't like country music, but she plays this country song every year, and every year I'm crying in the back of the. And again, it's been a couple. My youngest is 6. She hasn't been in pre-K for a long time, but I'm also a police officer in the village, so I go to the pre-K graduation every year because I love it so much. And that was the first thing I thought of. I'm putting these TVs in, and we're going to update this sound system because of this pre-K graduation. And that was the first thing that we were able to do with the money that we raised last year from a father's commitment.
That's awesome.
And I'm super excited. And again, it will help with all the kids' plays. And my daughter has My daughter is she's performing in Annie. They're doing a rendition of Annie, and we love Annie at our house. And my girls know all the songs, and so I'm excited for that, to see how they incorporate the new sound system and everything like that. So that was the first thing that was my first thought, and we were able to do that with that money. But and then we donated $20,000 to back to the school, so that they could use that for whatever it is that they want to use it for. But and then we, we held back some money so that we could do this again this year and be able to purchase all the bottles and everything like that. So this year we have 100 allocated bottles.
How many did you have last year?
We had 150 last year.
Okay, so
and
you're down
yeah,
just a little bit.
Yeah, but we tried to sell 1,500 tickets last year, and it was just a little bit. It was a little bit too cumbersome. It was a little bit too difficult. So we scaled it down just a little bit. So now it's 100 bottles, 1,000 tickets. So you still have a 1 in 10 chance.
Oh,
of
so
winning.
you scaled both of them down.
Yeah, so 1 in 10 chance. Yeah, and I think it's going to be. I think it's going to work out a little bit better for us this year. And with the live event, which it's June 24th, Saturday, June 24th, 5 to 9, you can buy raffle tickets and you can buy the event tickets online. We are live, up and running. People have already, bought some tickets, and it's at excuse me, sorry, afathersofcommitment.org, afathersofcommitment.org. Everything's on there ready to go. The live event, we're going to auction off individually, each bottle. And then we have a bunch of baskets. We have some door prizes. At the end of the raffle, we've got all 8 Blantons. So what people, for those that aren't bourbon connoisseurs like we are, each of the
I enjoy it.
I see a lot of Woodenville out here, so you're talking about how
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
You're mixing Angel's Envy Christmas morning, so so each one of the bottles has the pretty horsey on the top of the pretty bottle, and each of those toppers has a letter on it, and it spells Blanton's. And each horse actually represents a different part of the Kentucky Derby. Each horse is doing a different thing, so it's a big thing amongst the bourbon community to collect all 8 of them. So we have all 8. And we're going to auction that off at the end of the raffle.
8.
Yeah, all 8 at once. Yep. You
So
get the
like one
whole
package
set.
deal.
Yep,
So that's pretty.
Set.
I've never heard of anything like that.
Yeah, we're excited. We don't know. We don't know. I mean, we're going to have to start the floor at something and see what happens. But
it's because it's going to be a live.
Yep, we're going to do a live. Yeah,
auction.
We're it's a live event. We're going to have some music. We have a food truck, a word of mouth barbecue, which is pretty common in our neck of the woods in Doylestown, northeastern Ohio. They do a lot of different events, but they're going to be there selling their food, and we're going to have we'll have obviously some bourbon and some different drinks, and a lot of the parish community will be there. The event was the event turnout last year was way better than I thought it was going to be. We had a really, really good time. So we've scaled it up a little bit as far as the door prizes and the event itself. So we hope we can sell out. We only have 150. The fire marshal says we can only have 150 people in the gym, so we're going to have
fire marshals and their safety rules.
They have to be safe.
Safety.
So hopefully we can sell that event out like we did last year, and it'll be a good time. But again, you can purchase all those tickets online, and all the proceeds go back to our school. So a father's commitment. We're a 501c3. We're a nonprofit. So even if you don't like bourbon, they make great Christmas presents or gifts or things like that for those who don't drink but maybe know someone who does. All of the bottles we have are allocated, meaning you can't necessarily walk into a store here in Ohio and be able to purchase them. We have to stick to the bottles that are just, we have to purchase them in Ohio in order to be legit and legal.
Or not resell them, but give them away.
To raffle, yeah. Right. Which the state just changed those rules, 2 years ago, before we started the raffle last year. So we were excited that we were able to do it. But it
seemed like you guys had a little bit of a ruckus.
Yeah,
dealing with that whole thing last year, because a lot of people don't realize that, like, if you buy liquor in Ohio, it's only specific types, and if you're buying something special in the liquor world, special as in the state of Ohio and its board has to kind of like, it's all sanctioned and all these weird things around it. It's like seems very prohibition-y in a sense.
Ohio being a controlled state, it is they take it really serious. So we're just happy that legally we are able to do it. But you can go on the website and you see all the list of all the bottles that we have. I think last count we had 97 bottles, so we only need 3 more bottles. We've got, I think we have close to 16 Blantons. Everybody loves those Blantons, so we've got a couple of those for the regular raffle, and then obviously we're going to do the live auction there at the end of the night. But a lot of really good bottles, a lot of bottles that I want, and I have too many, so
Wish I
yeah,
could get that one, right?
we're really excited. But I mentioned Kirk earlier, and we've got a group of dads, some of which that they don't even necessarily like bourbon, but they'll go stand in line for a long time on mornings during the week and especially on the weekend in order to be able to get some of these allocated bottles because that's the only way you can get them is to stand in line. So they're spending time away from their families to be able to collect all of these bottles so that we can even do this. So I can't thank them enough. And they without them, we really couldn't do this.
Yeah. And I was actually even telling Cass about this earlier that, because of the way the system's set up in Ohio, it's just, there's the people that they call taters, that'll stand in line to essentially, because all of the liquor in Ohio is allocated, you can only get certain bottles here. And there's only so many that stores will sell at certain times.
Yeah.
So it's kind of think about like a concert or some kind of special or a Black Friday, some kind of special deals at the stores where people will stand in line and wait for it, buy it, and then just resell it. They don't even like it. Just to make money.
They're making money. Yeah.
So like I can only imagine the time and dedication to attain some of these bottles because, you got to show up. There's times where I've even just a normal, just regular bottle of like Buffalo Trace.
Yeah.
You see that in a store in Ohio, it's like, well, I got to buy it.
Yeah.
Because I have no idea when I'm ever going to see this again.
You got lucky. Yeah. You feel like you're just in the right place at the right time. Like, I've got to do this.
Yeah. Because most people, because of the way the rules are set up and, in these states where you have to try to find them. And it's just a normal, there's nothing super special about a bottle of Buffalo Trace.
No.
I did a couple months ago. I walked into our, local liquor store, just I do because it's Ohio and you just never know what you're going to see. And sitting there is like 3 bottles of Buffalo Trace. And I'm like, I guess I got to buy it.
Yeah. How many can I get? How many will you let me buy?
Yeah. If nothing else, someone else would want it.
Yeah.
But so it's the time and the dedication. And I guess maybe that's the tie that I'm curious about too is, like you said, being a police officer, maybe I'm going to dive right into it here.
Sure.
Being a police officer, doing a foundation and a charity for a private Catholic school. How does, alcohol and bourbon kind of mix in with that? And like you said, like you mentioned it, like people just think we're alcoholics. Like, I've had buddies before, and maybe it was even about the one episode where I was telling you about that we had the 12 different bottles of Elijah Craig. He goes, oh, you guys go hard, huh?
Yeah.
I was like, well, no, like we're not drinking all 12 full bottles.
Yeah.
Like it's the tasting, but how does that kind of fit in? How do you see that as being a supportive kind of thing? Because I could see some people having conflicting feelings about that.
Absolutely. And it does, it's conflicting with me too. Not to mention, I have 3 little girls that, I don't want them to, obviously, alcohol, it's a chemical and it changes who we are and what we are. And so, and you have to be careful with it just like anything else. But I guess first and foremost, it is legal. That's a good start. It is legal. So that, but I said before, we have this little Catholic school, and I'm going to take a moment to kind of paint a picture here.
Yeah,
and it wasn't Doylestown is it really is just obviously a small community, but it really is a beautiful little town. And we have one main street and one street light, businesses on either side. The trees lined both sides of the street going in and out of town. Our schools are all close together. And then, right in the middle of town, we have a World War I statue of a soldier that represents all the people from Doylestown or the area that had passed away in that conflict. We call it the Doughboy. That's what everybody calls it, but it's right in the center of town. It's right in the middle of the road, which between me and everybody listening to this podcast now, it's a little bit of a traffic nightmare,
It's
you
a
know,
little
especially
annoying. Yeah,
people
yeah.
walking across the street, and it's hard to see people, and it's dangerous. And I'm a police officer, and I'd like
Need
people
to turn
to
into a
like,
roundabout,
yeah.
maybe.
Well, they talked about it, but there just really isn't
Not
enough
enough
room,
room.
and just
Yeah. Wow.
way overkill for the amount of traffic that would go through there. But it has been talked about. So you know, and above that, you know, that statue sits at the foot of our American flag, and our police department is, you know, just is on one of those corners in this little town. And then that sits right beside our water tower. You know, with the Doughboy is actually the logo on that water tower, and you know, it says the Village of Doylestown, and in the shadow of that is our Catholic church, which it is just it's picturesque. And my wife and I, it's our thing to walk in the evenings. You know, we get about 4 here in the state of Ohio, in which it's nice enough to be able to walk. We feel like.
Every
But
once in a while.
yeah, every once in a while we get a chance to walk, and our kids are old enough to where, you know, they can just stay at home, and it's kind of like our time, and I love it personally. But we always try to walk by the church, especially in the evening, because it's got the stained glass windows, and it just looks like what a church is supposed to look like, and it's beautiful. And right beside that is the rectory, and Father Morris's house, and it's just a beautiful century home that they just, you know, just refurbished the inside of it, and it's gorgeous. And right beside that is our little Catholic school, and I was standing in the vestibule of church a couple years ago, and someone I didn't know all that well, and they were visiting from another parish, and it had been the first time that they were at Saint Spirit of Paul Catholic Church, he didn't know me, I didn't know him, and I don't even know why we were standing in the back of the church. And he had said to me, he said, "This is kind of a little oasis." He's like, "This doesn't exist anymore." You know, as we looked out the doors and saw that, like, the school sitting beside the church. So yeah, there is a conflict with, you know, obviously alcohol and law enforcement don't go hand in hand, because, you know, some of the most dangerous people I've dealt with are impaired. So, you know, I do have that internal confliction, but we also have to keep this school open, because I love it. I love the teachers. I love the education. The kids in their uniforms, you know, their Catholic uniforms, and it's just a beautiful place. And they get such a great Catholic education. And we have to keep the doors open. And this was a means to an end for me. And to be able to raise, you know, $40,000 in one evening, I couldn't believe it. And I think we're going to do better this year. And to be able to, you know, help the school with little things like, you know, we talked before about just the sound system, so
Right.
that we had a guy come in and brings the exotic animals in. It's like, name was like Jungle Jim or something like that. And it was the first time I'd heard the sound system work,
Oh,
and you could hear it, and it was amazing. And I was really, really proud of just that little thing. It just made the experience for those little ones just a little bit better. So I guess that's kind of where I'm at with it. But yeah, it's something I think about.
yeah, well, I think it kind of lends to, you know, just, you know, gleaning from the last time, you know,
Mhm.
we talked to you and Kirk, and then talking to you now, and understanding, you know, people in their lives. We often, at least to me, it seems like I've had my, I'll even be a little personal here.
Sure.
I've had my dabble in religion,
Okay.
and that's probably the best way I can put it, in through my childhood. But it left some scars on me,
Okay.
but it also, I can look back on that and understand and connect and have and empathize
Hmm.
with the people, that, you know, whatever beliefs you have. And what I see most out of, at least from talking to you guys, is the sense of community, you know, and regardless of, you know, maybe your existential beliefs,
Sure.
you know, if there's one thing that I think everybody could have a little bit more of these days, is a sense of community,
Hmm.
and that shines through, you know, drastically, you know,
Yeah.
with you two and the town, and, you know, just the small community. And like you said, like, I remember the first time someone tried it. I'm sure it was Tony. It's kind of a bummer he's not here. Uh, but I remember, like, he was years and years ago. He always loved bourbon, and
Mhm.
he's like, man, he's like, you know, to me, it's just all about facilitating conversation and camaraderie
Yeah.
and friendship, and you sit down. It's something to share
Together.
There's a craft,
Mhm.
that you can
Yeah.
share together, whether that be, bourbon, or maybe it's, kids sports, or, a play. Like it, it's so fun. I'm going to really just go off the rails here.
Yeah.
You know, I was a very sports type person. And due to my childhood, I was very closed off and like tried to fit that kind of mold of the sports guy.
Yeah.
And I tried to pretend to be that. And I even did a terrible job at that.
Yeah, we're a very competitive family. Yeah, my family and my wife's family. I mean, we're very competitive.
Yeah. So it's like seeing that, and our daughter has found like drama club. So that's why I connected with the story of like, putting on a show and being able to hear the little kids, like being passionate about what they're doing. And it's like something that we realized that as parents, that's something neither of us would ever even have considered. But here we found this child who is just, we've created, which is wild and crazy when you really think about it. Like, what? Yeah. And someone told us that we could leave the hospital with this thing. I don't know.
It's to this day. And again, I'm going to remind everybody, I'm a police officer. Scariest day of my life is that we're standing on the curb and I've got to go get the car, and I come back and we put Lena in the back of the car, and I just looked at my wife and I'm like no one's going with us. Like, it's us.
We literally had the exact same conversation. I think she said she's like, they're letting us do this?
Yeah.
Like, we're just taking this thing with us?
Yeah.
What's wrong with them?
Yeah. And going back to your point, like with sports and stuff, like, there's an aspect of failure in every part of, I mean, that's why sports are so beautiful, because there is always that possibility.
Someone's always going to beat you, no matter how good you are.
That's right. Like you just like, it's just like you work so hard, but that's the aspect of it. And I think that's a good thing. I mean, I think failure is so important. But this is something that, like, for the first time in my life, you can't fail at this. Like, you can't fail like that. It's just, I don't know. It was a weight on my shoulders that I've never experienced before, and I still to this day have that feeling.
Yeah,
scary.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
But to that point, it's like you realize how much, and maybe at least for me, I never realized how important that was until you start seeing how much involvement in community, in friends and family, how much that affects the next generation. How much it affects you.
Yeah.
So like, I could live in a cabin out in the middle of the woods with a family with nobody else, and I would be just fine. But how much more can we impact the world?
Yeah.
In a positive manner, regardless of beliefs and faiths and all these things. But at the beginning of that, you have to have that sense of community, right? And you have to be able to look at each other, next door neighbors, and say, all right, folks.
Yeah.
What are we going to do here? Can we help out? Can we do these things? Can we work together amongst our differences and beliefs and faiths?
Yeah.
And do it amongst, and maybe this is getting back to the bourbon, is with moderation.
Yeah.
And enjoying something together, but obviously if you're, if it's in excess,
then you got yourself a problem.
Yeah, that's where you got the problem. Maybe.
And I guess I'm gonna get a little personal here too. I mean, if there is such a thing as an addictive personality, it is me. Like I am somebody that
right there with you.
Like if I'm going to do something, it's going to be 110%. And because of that, my life is extremely regimented. So I have to be careful with things like that. I mean, I have to be careful with just the things that I get involved in and everything like that, because I will take it to I take it to extremes. So which, I guess there's obviously, the good and bad to all of that.
Right.
But I think like what you were saying, Fred, you're especially now more than ever, to where sometimes I feel like we as a society, we are so divided, and that, I remind my girls all the time, my girls have got to be just sick and tired of my anecdotes and my
I know mine is, so I'm sure all three, if you have three, it's only worse.
But I remind them every day that it's okay for someone to have a different opinion than you. Like
Ooh.
I feel like sometimes we forget that it's okay that if, Fred, that if you don't agree with it, it's okay if you don't agree with me, and I think that not only that, but it's okay for someone not to like you. It's okay.
Mm.
I mean, you are who you
That's
are.
hard
And
sometimes though,
yeah,
right?
it's extremely difficult, especially for a 13-year-old girl who's, going through adolescence and comes from two parents who are so competitive and are so fierce. And the girl, she's a champion already, and she doesn't know it, just dealing with my wife and I every day. But
Yeah, we're doing this on purpose. We're preparing her for future.
But I think some adults need to be reminded of that. We don't.
It's okay.
Everybody doesn't have to agree with you. It's okay. And in Doylestown and Saints Peter and Paul, and like I said, like looking out the church doors and seeing our little oasis, it kind of is to some degree. I feel like we're in a little bit of a time machine or a time machine, or like I don't know, like we went back in time, because it is it is so historic to some degree, and to be able to see all of those this small community still nestled away and amongst all the big buildings and all the bustle and the chaos that the world is today. It is quiet, and everybody knows everybody's name, and everybody knows each other. So there is a I don't know, a sense of there's a sense of pride there, but it's also comforting to know that these are the people you grew up with, and these are your friends that you've known forever. And I always I have such a pride with our community, and I really am proud of the fact that every day I'm tasked with keeping it safe, because I really do like it. I really enjoy the people that are there, because the community does mean something to them, and I think in today's society, I think that's lost a little bit. So
There's
I
a
like
sense
it.
of preservation there.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
And I also look at it too, where like, not always is, I guess maybe like tradition, looking at it in like a traditional sense.
yeah,
You know, carrying on a tradition just because it's your tradition
yeah. I
may
don't.
not always, that doesn't necessarily line up.
Yeah.
I've always been well, why? Why do we do this? Like,
I love that.
I can
love
understand
it.
the what.
Yeah.
Oftentimes what is easily explained if you
Mhm.
understand the the workings of the
Yeah.
situation, but the why.
Yeah.
So I think it's even with the thought of progress, and like obviously as a a culture, as a species, like we
Mhm.
want to continue to progress. Like if we could fly to Pluto
Mhm.
and land on Pluto, why would, like, that seems like that would probably be pretty cool, right? So
Yeah.
let's like keep walking forward and let's keep trying to make progress, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to always disconnect from the good things
Yeah.
that you found along the way.
Yeah.
Right? So there's some things that can be traditions for good reasons.
Yeah. But
You don't have to just do them just to do them.
Yeah, and there are things that work and things that aren't. And when you said that, the first thing I thought of was funerals. I don't understand funerals. I never have. I do not so much funerals, but I take that back. Not funerals, calling hours. I understand the respect of those that have passed. I get that, but to me, I sit and I look at it, I just feel like we're torturing
They're so
the
sad.
families that, and again, some people want to talk to everybody that comes through and want that sense of closure. And so often I hear people say, well, it's for those people to get closure too. And I'm like, well, that's no, I don't know. I don't know if that's exactly how it works. I don't know. It just feels outdated to me. I don't know.
It feels disconnected to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I've told my wife, when I die, if she's still alive, if you're coming to the funeral, whatever you plan on doing, I don't want to be buried in a casket.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly yet. I've seen that they've started doing like they turn your body into like mulch.
Oh,
Essentially.
okay.
Like they basically like allow you, or just turn your body into organic material and allow, like, plant a tree or something like that.
To give back the circle of life.
But it's like, man, like why shove my body in this like weird, like chemically
doesn't make sense.
coated like box
Yeah.
that I'm trying to preserve I get some cultures are a little different.
Yeah.
But it's like whoever comes, you walk in the door, you got to take a shot of whiskey.
Yeah.
Because this should be about celebration.
Yep.
You know, maybe, I don't know, maybe it came from when I was younger, I lost a friend as a teenager.
Okay.
And he wasn't in the area. So they had like, eventually months later, it was this weird thing, but they had this celebration of life.
Okay.
And we stood up and like, we were able to like talk about him in the room with a bunch of people that I hadn't seen in years. And like, it just felt super awkward. But like, at the same time, we have these people that you realize this person touched, and they like kind of stood up, and it was still very somber and sad.
I like
so
that.
I'm like, it was a step in the right direction.
Yeah. I like that.
But
better.
I'm like, you know what? You come in the door, let's take some drinks.
Yeah.
Let's have some fun. Like, let's celebrate this, the connection and the person that this person was, and the impact that they had in our lives. And I get the feeling of being sad, obviously, you know, but I'm going to be sad for a long time.
Right.
If I lose somebody special to me, like an hour of 2 hours of being super duper sad and pretending to be extra sad.
It's just, we're going to get in line. Everybody's going to get in line at the door. And then there's that pressure of, you know,
who can be more sad?
Yeah. You don't want to, and you don't want to, you can't spend too much time talking to the family. Like, you really, like, what do you say? It's kind of awkward. Most of the people in line, you really don't know. And you knew different people of the family. And to me, it seems outdated, and it seems like I don't know, it needs to be revisited. I don't know who's revisiting it, but we need to. I like the celebration of life. I like getting together and, you know, sharing a whiskey, or, you know, just getting together with close family and being able to talk and decompress but I don't know, but
I think it kind of lends to at least in my eyes, it's a kind of a sense of openness with each other that we don't feel on a day-to-day basis. You know, you go to the grocery store, how often are people comfortable with like having a conversation with someone right beside them? Yeah. Now, I'm not saying I want everyone to like have a conversation with me when I'm in the grocery store. Please don't, you know, I don't need that. But like the ability to just like look at other people and just recognize, oh, like you're doing the same thing I'm doing. Like you're just trying to live. You're trying to, you know, enjoy your family, enjoy your life. Yeah. And why can't we continue to like perpetuate that? Yeah. In all the ways that a community does.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think it's again, like, you know, Doylestown, you know, being a little bit of a microcosm with that small community feel. But like, even like with technology today, like with cell phones and texting and, you know, the Twitter and Facebook,
it makes it seem better,
Facebook and all those things. Yeah.
Right, but,
you know, it keeps you in touch, but I feel like we're just further away because we don't have conversations, you know, face to face and to be able to talk to people. So I think you get that much more in that smaller community because you do get to see people a lot more often. And then, you know, also, you know, it just goes back to the kind of the bourbon thing, to where like if I'm going to sit down and share a glass of whiskey with somebody, you know, they're with me and we're talking and I don't know, I like that connection. I like that camaraderie that speaks to like a small community. But
I've as much as I've said it 1,000 times before that I'm not a person that like would typically connect with people. Yeah, I've said it probably until I was pushing 30-ish. So I was like, I hate people. I don't want anything to do with them. I don't need to talk to anybody. I don't want anybody to talk to me. People are just not my thing.
So you decided to do a podcast?
Right. Right.
It's good, Fred.
Yeah, here we are.
It's good.
It's good. Yeah, here we are.
That's good.
Well, I've had a change of heart because I've realized that there's people out there like yourself. And I've seen, you know, maybe it wasn't, I just didn't have great examples. Yeah. When I was younger, or I didn't see those people that, you know, were, quote unquote adults. Yeah. You know, behaving in a way that I was like, oh, well, maybe that's what I want to grow up to be. Yeah. You know, it was complete side note. It just hit me when you were talking about the kindergarten or the pre-K graduation ceremony. That's one of the things I still remember to this day. I remember walking up. I don't even remember what. Yeah, that's a big day. I don't remember where I was at, but I remember there was a video. I'm sure it was on VHS tape.
Oh yeah, back then.
Yeah. I walked up on stage and And it was when we grow up, what do we want to be?
Okay.
And
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear what the
Yeah.
kids. Yeah.
I wanted to be an ambulance driver.
That's what you wanted to be,
Yeah.
an ambulance driver.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not a medic.
Just want to drive because you want to drive fast and take chances. Take risks?
I wanted to help. Maybe there's some subconscious things going on there. I wanted to help people.
Okay.
I wanted to have fun driving fast with the lights on, right? But I didn't feel like I was responsible enough to actually save the people.
Oh,
but I was responsible enough to drive them safely.
Fred, you're gonna have to stop the bleeding. No. I'm just driving.
No, I'm a driver.
I'm just here to drive.
Yeah.
You could. Yeah, I wonder if you could be like
a job for that. Could you hook me up?
Could you be an Uber driver, but you just drove an ambulance? That's what's like your ride.
Yeah.
And you could just maybe get a.
I need someone to help me out though.
Get a radio
I'm not a
scanner. Get a scanner and just show up and.
Yeah.
I'm better than your driver.
Trust me, I'll get you there faster.
Yeah, I'm better than your driver. I think it's good.
I don't know, but to that point, it was like you realize that like how much development.
Did you have family that were in like first responders or
no?
What?
I have no idea why. Maybe.
I guess that resonates with every little boy. Like you got lights, you got loud sirens, you drive fast.
Spook was a firefighter.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
so
he was a firefighter, but maybe that's what it was. 'Cause my uncle is still. He's been a volunteer firefighter for I think damn near his entire life. He's been a fire chief, a fire inspector.
Oh wow!
And then back to a firefighter because he was like,
it's just in his blood.
He's like, this is boring. When he was a fire inspector, but I've seen him. Almost die multiple times, like even just in the ridiculous like car accidents.
Yeah.
Like someone just didn't stop. And I know he told me one story that, they were on a way to a murder. He was driving a truck and someone blew a red light. He almost killed somebody as a firefighter driving a truck to another emergency because it's like, how do you deal with that as, an emergency responder, like in realizing all those things? And maybe it was just a little bit of, I want a little taste of that, but maybe I didn't feel responsible enough to handle that pressure to be able to actually save people's lives. I just wanted to drive the lights.
But I will drive.
Yeah, I'll drive for you.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think with like just about with any job, there's aspects of it that you really, really like, and then there's some you can do without. Like I'd like to pick and choose in my job, like what I could, if I could do this every day and just take away that. Then
how much has that changed for you? It feels like a super silly question to put up there that everyone's kind of talked about in the last few years, and with COVID, and I guess there's a lot of politics as well. But obviously, you've mentioned you're kind of from a smaller town, smaller, closer knit community, which I can imagine is probably been a little better than being an officer or a first responder in a big city or something like that. But how much with like COVID and those things has that kind of because it feels like our brains have been tweaked a little bit the last like 4 years because of just things that everyone's gone through.
Yeah, it does feel like sometimes the world is just spinning out of control. Like you really do get that aspect of like just things are crazy, and it's tough to watch the news or to know what's going on with throughout the world. It's tough to, I don't know, it's a lot of anxiety, and it just immediately your blood pressure goes up and your heart beats a little bit faster, and it's not as I don't know. I just feel like everybody's in a hurry to get somewhere, and I'm not entirely certain if they know where they're going. And so it's changed. Law enforcement has changed dramatically, and I remember this was before when 9/11 happened, which was kind of the last time in this country in which civilians and law enforcement were kind of gelled, and and everybody loved the police. I feel like that was kind of like the last time, because obviously we had something, it was the first time that terrorists had done something on our soil. So like, everybody came
Central
together.
cause.
Yeah, it was just extremely, galvanizing. But since then that has deteriorated to a point in which sometimes I don't recognize my profession, because I've been a law enforcement officer for now 18 years. And, before I just remember I remember how people looked at me, like just the uniform. There was that sense of pride, like similar to our military.
Yeah.
Not the same thing. And I want to make sure that our veterans understand that I don't, law enforcement's not the same thing. We obviously we have a different rule of engagement, but I just I have the utmost respect for our military, and I think I will regret. I think when my time on this planet ceases to exist, I think in those final moments, I'm going to regret not being in the military because I'd have been really good at it. But I didn't make that decision. I think mainly because I wanted to be a dad. I wanted since an early age. I mean, even when I was like in high school and probably even earlier, I knew I wanted to be a dad. I didn't know really what I wanted to be when I grew up as far as I love the little boys and little girls when you talked earlier, Fred, about pre-K wanting to be an ambulance driver, ambulance driver specific, very specific, but
it was very specific.
Yeah,
it was verbatim. That's
like,
what I said. Ambulance driver.
Yeah. Did your mom and dad like question like, what are you talking about?
You can hear some chuckles.
Yeah.
In the crowd because they're like, oh, he was specific.
Well, I love the little kids that say that I want to be a mom or I want to be a dad. I just love that. It just eats me up. I love those presentations. If anyone in Doylestown is not busy on pre-K day and the school will let you in, which nowadays you're probably not getting to school, at least not if I'm there.
Wait, do you remember when Kyrie wrote when we were in Kentucky and it was like things that you want to do? It was like a chalkboard where you could write things that you want to do before you die.
It was like a roadside chalkboard underneath like it was like a teeny tiny square that barely had a stop sign in it. And they had it was like an old school building with the roof over top of it. And it was alongside the sidewalk and had this giant chalkboard. Like,
do you remember what she wrote?
I want to be before I die. Was it
a great grandma?
Oh, a great grandma.
A great grandma.
Yeah.
We were like, do you want to be like a really good grandma or do you want to be like a great grandma? You know, like.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and she's like, I just want to be a great grandma. Okay.
Wow. I mean,
that was like 4 years ago. So she was.
It was probably even more than that.
She was probably 7, 8.
But talk about
so funny.
But think about that though. Just first off, think of the depth there in which I love being a dad, but seeing my little girls have kids one day, I can't even begin to fathom just how proud I will. I don't know. I don't want to cry.
Yeah. Well, I'll say that because I've seen going from I don't have much of a family life, but my wife and like seeing her dad.
Yeah, and
he's a hard man. Like he grew up in West Virginia, literally. Him and his brothers, if I'm to believe the stories, which I feel like I do because I've known him for quite a while.
No choice.
Yeah, well, not even no choice, but just anecdotally understanding the, all of the statistics and things that I've seen, and interacting with his siblings. I'm like, okay, I think I believe his stories. Yeah. They would hunt and farm for their food, and up until, probably. When he turned 60-ish around there, he was not necessarily the easiest person to get along with.
Yeah.
Than the grandkids.
Yep.
And you just like, along with him retiring, because that helps because sometimes when you're, you're working your entire life and you get a little bit of break.
Sure.
But you see somebody have grandkids. Yeah. It's like, there's something there to that.
Yep.
Understanding and that generational passing down and seeing like just I don't even know what to call it, the extenuation of humanity, whatever it is. And it's like, like there's something special here. Yeah. And even when we only have one child, but I think we'll be honest though, like we don't feel like we're the greatest parents all the time, but we try hard.
We do the best. We try. The best we can. There's no manual. Like
we've literally told our kid, like, look, this is our first time too. I don't know what you want me to do with this.
Yeah. We weighed out our options. We actually wrote them down. We made a checklist, pros and cons, and this is what we came up with. So what do you want from me?
Yeah, we're trying.
Yeah,
but there's something to that when you just I don't know how to describe it.
Cass, is that something that you like growing up? Did you did you like when you? I have the same relationship with my dad. I have a much better relationship with him now than I did growing up. I mean, he was very hard. He was a bricklayer, mason, worked all the time. Gave. I mean, my sister and I were wanting for nothing, but my sister is much more like him than I am. Like they are just my sister and my dad are the most capable people on planet Earth, and my dad was just. My dad could just fix anything. He didn't even need the right pieces and parts, and he was just such a hard worker. But he was just always at work, so I didn't have a relationship with him. And as I got older, we just always butt heads. And I guess I didn't even think about how he would be with my kids until it hit me square in the face. Like, my God, he's a great man, and it was just something that it was something after the fact. I never thought about it before. So like, how did that, when did you realize there was that change, or it was going to be different?
There was definitely like a noticeable change when we had Kai. So my dad was married before, so I have two half siblings.
Okay.
And so they're quite a bit older. So they had the first grandkids.
Okay.
But then with my mom and dad, so there's three of us, and I'm the youngest. I'm a twin, but the youngest.
Yeah.
We had the first child out of the three, and we're a lot closer. My brother lives out of state, right? So we got to see him with his, grandchild, our daughter,
Sure,
a lot more often. And they have like it's the weirdest, most
She's also
special
just as
bond.
weird as he is.
Yeah, like they've got the weirdest
so they
bond.
click. They click.
Yeah, they click so well. And my dad and I, I am also very much like my dad.
She is.
Like,
Okay.
So we're abrasive, and we're just.
She doesn't seem abrasive, but trust me, she is.
Yeah,
She can
so-
be.
Take your word for it. Take your word for it.
We are so much alike, and so we did butt heads a lot. But he also was working a lot too,
Mhm.
So was my mom. She worked full time. So
Yeah, mine
my
too.
older brother got us off the bus and did all the things. But he was around, and he was he did everything. Like
Yeah.
you described your dad, but I was still like my dad's little girl,
Yeah.
So I have a twin brother, and then I have an older brother. So like, they'd have to go out and like stack wood for, 2 hours. And after like 35 minutes, he'd be like, well, why don't you go inside and help your mom? So I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But so we always had like that special but and now he's like best friends with my brother. They go out to lunch or breakfast like 3 mornings out of
All
the
the
week. Now that
time.
he's
Yeah.
retired, he babysits all the grandkids, just like all of them.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how little they are. Kai's 11. He just, it's weird to see that like shift in him. He's still hard.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
for sure. But there's like an incremental, like
But
each
it's-
grandchild he's had,
Yeah.
he just
Soft-
continually gets
It's a little
softer
bit
and softer.
Yeah, I think old
Yeah.
age. I think age has a
Yeah.
lot to do with that too.
And
But
my
like you're
mom's
describing
always
my
been soft. Like she was always like the opposite.
Oh,
So they
yeah.
really complemented each other.
She's always been a softie.
Yeah, she's always been super sweet. And so it's nice to see,
Yeah.
like, because she still works part-time, and he's retired. So a lot of times it'll be like big gruff grandpa with,
Yeah.
3 of the grandkids.
That's like
And
that's you're describing my situation to a T.
and it's perfect.
I couldn't like I said, it smacked me in the. I mean, like I knew my mom and dad are the most selfless people. I mean, my mom specifically. She never does anything for herself, and they've like I said, they've given my sister and I everything in the world that we could possibly want. But the first time I saw him, like especially, it wasn't so much when they were babies. Like my dad doesn't necessarily was. I mean, he held them and everything like that. But like it wasn't until they got old enough to where they could like do things. And then like I watch him with them, and I'm just like, oh my God, like.
I find that difficult too, even as a dad, where I know like my worst feature is partially my best.
Yeah.
That like I'm very complex, and I like doing complex things, learning things. So like when she was younger, it was a struggle. I'll just be honest, it was a struggle.
Yeah.
'Cause it was like, when she's a baby, it's like, okay, I can protect this thing.
Yeah.
Like I can do that. Like, no, I got this
Uh-huh.
baby.
Yeah.
But then like in the middle stages where it's like, I don't know what to do with this thing that doesn't understand what I'm saying, but like she still wants to do the things that whatever it's doing because it's just a little human that's learning how to do stuff. Like I've told the story before where it's like, I remember years and years ago, she's just starting to like walk.
Yeah.
And she started like, well, she wanted to draw on the TV.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, no.
It's a
no.
perfect place.
Yeah, well, it's like a big black thing. It looked like a chalkboard,
It's a
right?
canvas, yeah.
Yeah. So like, and I'm sitting in a chair and I'm like, no. So she turns around and stares at me. And then with the same crayon or whatever it was, like reaches behind her towards the TV and tries to draw on it. Like, because obviously if she can't see it, then I can't see it.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, all right, I know my reaction that I want to give right now is not what I should be doing. But like, how do you not know that that's not wrong? Yeah. So I have a hard time,
Yeah.
But so it's fascinating to see them grow into this like this cognizant being. So it's like, what are we creating here? What are we doing here?
Yeah.
With these like just generational like passing down of knowledge of the behaviors and teaching these little things that grow into things that we end up becoming. It's
and then you're always wondering. I mean, like, because I guess it's so easy to forget that they are watching and learning everything that you do.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, so you got to be on your best behavior. But then yeah,
you got to be on your best behavior.
And then you think, well,
damn it,
I don't know if I want them to be like me. So who
who am I trying to be now for them?
So now I'm looking around like who can I send them to hang out with, and who can I have them emulate? But yeah, it's it is. I believe in my heart that I was born to be a dad, and my wife and I we would have had, we started having kids too later. Otherwise, we'd probably have more. But yeah, it's everyone and all of my girls are different, and every day it's something new, and it's a lot of fun,
That's
but
so
scary at the same time. But I think my wife and I think we are the best versions of our parents, and we have such loving families, and I couldn't be more blessed. I couldn't. We spend a lot of time with our families, and it's everything to us. I mean, it is like that is what we yearn for, like every weekend. Like sometimes my wife and I find, like if we are like doing something else, or if we have plans doing something else, that we just end up missing, because we know that the rest of our family, they're together. We like, so like it's like we always have that fear of missing out on spending that time with our family, even though we're together all the time. So it's a blessing, and it's I don't know, it's a good thing.
Well, I think the world needs that more than ever.
Yeah.
Because this, as we talked about, it's not necessarily my inclination to be like that. But I'm also like, I look at the strong families and the strong people that just build this center around this beautiful, loving family.
Yeah.
And tend to continue to perpetuate that. Like, we need that.
Yeah.
We need those structures. We need those communications and communities to have that bond and to have that love for the world. Not everybody needs to be an Elon Musk. We need our Elon Musks, but if everyone were like that, like we're, not saying that he doesn't understand what love is, or like family connections or anything like that.
Yeah.
But, there's just something that, everybody can provide the world. And man, these last few years of just, like you said, like it feels contentious. I like to think that it maybe every normal person's experience isn't as contentious as, the media or whoever would like to make us feel like it is.
Yeah.
But just seeing those bonds as a community and finding ways that however the person's skill set fits in the best to, uplift communities and uplift families. And, we've, we one and done. That's at least that's kind of the thought we've even talked about, adoption and those things, and and how difficult that system is. So like, there's so many problems and issues
Yeah.
that are outlining, our social and, civic governance and all these different, that doesn't even matter. That was word salad right there.
I understand exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, perfect.
So,
I'll just keep on going.
I hear what you're saying.
Okay.
You're preaching to the choir.
But you know what I mean? Like, so like we need people to embrace those, you know, those things without condemning.
Yeah.
And like just creating more strife.
Yeah.
Right. And it just feels like it's easy to create strife these
Sure.
days. So what can we do to not do that?
Yeah. I think it is almost the definition of life, because I feel like in my opinion, and this is difficult for me to say because I'm not somebody, I do not like to be in crowds. I don't like large social events. I don't like being around a lot of people. I love this. I love the intimacy of this, to be able to talk with you guys, just the three of us. But I get really uncomfortable, and I have some anxiety that I probably should talk to somebody about when I get in large groups and large crowds.
I'm there with you there.
And I don't know if it's because of, the profession that I have, like I always feel like, I have to watch my back. Like I always have to be, the wolf is always at the door and I'm always ready. But I think life is about the people that we share it with. Like if you don't have people to share those experiences with, like, what is it all for? I think but yet in the same breath, the most difficult things are interpersonal relationships, the relationships that we have with those people. So it's confusing and it's difficult, but I agree with what you're saying. I think we need to get back to, helping the neighbor, or, lending your tools to the neighbor and caring more about others. And that coming out of, if my family's listening right now, they're going to be like, who is this guy? What are they talking about? But they know that I would do anything for them. But yeah, I think that, I think there is that sense of that's lost, I don't know. And I mean, going back to like social media and stuff like that, I mean, I think that we're, it's easy to get lost and, on our phones and technology and things like that, to where we're not face to face as much anymore. And I don't know. I think that has a lot to do with it, but the technology has its good things. But
I wonder how much of it too is it's just like being overloaded.
Yeah,
because I feel like I'm a person that can take a lot of sensory information and kind of process it and categorize it and compartmentalize. I've been accused of being a little too compartmentalizing sometimes, but like, there's just so much.
This has to help that, though. I mean, this arena that you've created with the podcast, because I mean, you are expressing yourself and getting those things off your chest, and you're not, I don't know. I think that has to help
for sure. And I think a part of it, I think it was one of those things where I realized that this is one of those uncomfortable things for me.
Good for you.
That I realized I had to push myself into doing.
Yeah.
It took a lot of years and years and years of work. And I think for the first year of doing this, we got to be going on at least 3 now. I think we're close to 3.
How many episodes? Do you know what you're on?
Well, so this will be number 100.
Oh, no kidding.
But there are a couple of like so I did probably 6 different episodes that I called Curiosity with a Course.
Okay.
That was more like the typical podcast format.
Yeah.
That was very directional and more informative, kind of, structured. So those aside, this is the 100th episode that we have essentially clicked record.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Clicked record.
Gotcha.
And just
cheers to 100.
Yeah.
Cheers to 100.
Yeah. Thank you. I realize that now. I appreciate that. Yeah. So this is our 100th episode that we've just
numbered and
click record and just had a conversation with whoever it is. The other ones were just me talking about something very structured.
I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated with this whole thing. And my girls really want me to do a bourbon podcast. They want me to start doing that. And it just way outside my comfort zone. But so I am fascinated with you because for whatever reason, I feel like you and I are kind of cut from the same cloth. And Fred, I don't know you all that well, but just in these 2-hour conversations that we have, I feel like you and I are.
You're saying a lot of things I resonate with. So.
I see your militia shirt, and I don't know. I think you and I are.
You're like,
I think you and I would get along in pretty much any social setting. But I am fascinated with that because one of the things that I have been blessed with is my ability to compartmentalize because I'm really good at it.
I feel like you have to be, right?
I'm really good at it, and some law enforcement officers aren't, and I feel like I am, and I think I've chosen healthy outlets, not alcohol, which is I love bourbon for the social event
right.
and all the things that we talked about, but not in excess.
Not as a crutch.
Yeah, so I really have chosen really, really healthy outlets, but I am really good at compartmentalizing, like you just said. This is so much outside my. So I guess my question to you is like, walk me through the maturation of how this happens, like like you doing a podcast, and then like just how's it gone, and what are some of the things you would have done differently? I'm so curious. I'm super curious.
Oh man. Well, I'll try to make a super long story short.
Yeah, no.
Tony, we met a long time ago, and he learned that I knew how to play guitar.
Okay.
It's more of a hobby. I've played since I was 12. Not an expert. I can pick up and I can play some things. So he encouraged me. He liked to sing and write lyrics. He liked writing music.
Okay.
So he encouraged me and was like, "Hey, play your guitar. Let's get together." So we started to get together, play guitar. He would write songs. We'd just hang out, drink some bourbon, play some music. At that time, this wall, you'd probably actually be almost sitting up against the wall right now. And COVID hit.
Okay.
So we've been playing music, having fun, just hanging out as buddies, once or twice every, month or so.
Just bonding.
Month or so. Yeah, just hanging out, playing music. Yeah. We'd record some stuff. We actually played we played a show, opened up for somebody at like a small bar and just playing music. Just
what kind of music?
I'd say Americana would probably be the best way to describe it. A little bit like, not like quite country, like with some blues undertones and just real raw acoustic.
Okay. Like a Chris Stapleton type deal?
Maybe. Are you familiar with Zach Bryan?
No, I don't know.
Okay. You should.
Chris Stapleton is the only one I know because my wife loves his voice.
Okay.
So that's all I know.
we're not as good as Chris Stapleton.
No. Who is?
But kind of
yeah.
touche.
Yeah.
And that, or like I'm trying to think of other good examples.
What did you say they want? Zach Brown? Is that what you said?
Zach Bryan.
Zach Bryan?
Oh, you're not familiar. Oh, he's a good.
Not.
You're not. Well, he's not really country. Yeah, but he's not really country though.
Cass, you can't pull up some Zach Bryan right now. Like you guys have that ability?
No, we'll get. We can't play
all
music.
kinds of problems.
Yeah, we can't play music because the algorithms will pick it up and they'll.
Then it's a copyright.
It's a copyright
situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like or the White Buffalo, Jake Smith. I'm trying to think. Who's the red-haired guy? Tyler Childers.
How old are you? How old are you, Fred? How old are you? I'm just curious. How old
36.
36. Okay, I'm not that much older than you. I don't know any of this.
I would say it's very acoustic.
Okay.
And not country, but it's very acoustic, blues centered, kind of just fire pit music.
I got you.
Essentially.
Okay. Yeah.
It's basically it's fire. It's bonfire music.
I would like that.
Yeah, it's bonfire music.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so we were doing that for a few years, having fun, and then COVID hit, and we would obviously, when you're having bourbons, drinking, playing music, doing those kinds of things, hanging out with buddies, you just have conversations, right? Sure. And Tony kept saying, like, man, he's like, this is what I love about bourbon, like sharing it, and like, and then when he started trying to get, it took me probably 4 years to really get the understanding of how he connected with sharing bourbon with people. And it was that connection. It was just sitting down it was
Having something
the
in
drink
common.
was just like the facilitator.
Yeah.
Right. It just started the conversation. And then, all right, how does this branch off?
A little bit of truth serum. You start talking about some good stuff.
Yeah, you open up a little bit,
good.
and it's that social lubricant,
Sure,
right? And
yeah.
it gives you something to kind of start on instead of hey, the weather's Ohio today, right? You know what I mean? So
sports,
then,
did the Indians win?
And like sports was like, I love sports. I love watching them. I played them in, throughout my high school career and even before then and after. I love being active, but it just takes a lot of time to really know sports. So people were like, "Oh, what about this guy?" Like, but COVID hit, and it just seemed like everybody's emotions just kind of got so guarded, shut down. Everybody separated.
Everybody was scared
to death.
Yeah.
And
everybody was scared.
Yeah, I mean, we were having wine with DeWine, you know,
I get it
for about a month,
Yeah.
and then it was like, oh, this just. Something just feels off with this. And it was like, look, like I have
you got the
audio
means.
equipment.
Yeah.
So, and we love just hanging out and talking with, share a bourbon. So we just started doing that. And it was, all right, let's just start, let's sit down, invite whoever, whether it's a friend or whether it's somebody that's promoting something, right? Or whether it's somebody that has something super interesting going on. I mean, we've talked to bodybuilders, we've talked to people that out there, in Cleveland that are doing things for the homeless community. They're homeless hookup in Cleveland. And we've talked to people that are connected with that are just trying to out there helping their communities do whatever they can and help to uplift the other people in communities and people with heartache that have gone through these, different struggles. And it's just so fascinating to be able to sit down and, I kind of coined the phrase way early on, and it's actually stuck really well, is real people, real conversations.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. Cause like, I don't, people have people coming on, they're like, well, what should I expect? Like, what are we going to do? Like, is there any structure? Like, what do you expect out of me? And I said, I don't,
especially those that have probably been on other podcasts where they probably have an agenda and
and it's like, I don't expect anything out of you. I very few times I have a notepad. I have a couple things that like, if I am more than willing to put out and perpetuate and, uplift anything the guest has. But otherwise for me, it's just such a blessing to sit down at this table that the table that we helped create with Tony and a couple other people and like, we made this and it's like, and to be able to sit across from somebody and just have a discussion with another human being and find some kind of connection and recognize that while we have these vast differences, we have so many more things in common. If nothing else, just the desire to, go through life and, enjoy our friends and our family and, day to day, like what makes us happy. We want to perpetuate the happiness in the generations behind us, right? We want to, like, we just want to enjoy life together. That's all everybody really wants to do at the core of it. Like, you don't want to wake up and be miserable. Like, that's terrible. So like, what can we do to help, just expand that interconnectedness between people? And this is an extremely exhausting thing for me. It's getting easier. I would probably say for the first 2 years, for the first half an hour, I would sit down here and just sweat as we're talking, because it was just like super anxiety, like everything. And then it's like you realize more and more I talk to people, and the more and more I connect to people, it's just we're all the same flesh, bundles of flesh walking through life, trying to, do something. Whoa. Oh, jeez.
Oh, that's Tony. Wow. I love the grit in your voice.
When was that? That was a long time ago. Was it 2017?
2017.
Yeah. So. Oh. Oh, you wish you could play. Oh yeah. Oh, it wasn't even the whole video. That's all right.
Got cut off. I love the grit in your voice.
Yeah, so it's a kind of an Americana bluesish. Just
I like it.
Yeah, so
I can listen to that. I'm not a huge country music fan, but I can listen to that.
Yeah, it's hard because there's not like I think Americana is kind of like have you ever watched the Sons of Anarchy?
Oh yeah.
So Jake Smith, who is the lead singer of the White Buffalo.
Yeah.
So that's why this Bill Murray shirt is, if you can see on his forehead,
Yeah.
they have it framed, that's his signature.
Ah.
So
okay.
it's a like White Buffalo is like a Americana where it's not like country, but it's not blues. You know, it's very acoustic and kind of raw.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Seems passionate. Like it seems like you guys are like it's I don't know, that like just what you were doing there was just very.
It's just having fun.
Yeah,
doing the
I liked
thing. You know. So that's kind of how this whole thing started.
I just can't imagine standing on stage like
it was terrifying.
Yeah,
absolutely terrifying. I would still be terrified to do it right now today, and that was what 2017.
So do you guys do you do
no
just kind of
no? I still have all the equipment. It's just so I'm gonna talk shit about Tony because he's not here right now, and that's fine because I would tell him this to his face too. Yeah. No, so he's gotten super busy.
Yeah.
Just with all his jobs. So he works, with the Wayne County Jail.
Yeah.
He works at for an addiction clinic, helping patients out there, and he also has another company that he works for with. He does like hormone therapy.
As I say, I think he's
a nurse practitioner.
He was traveling a little bit too, and
yeah, he's super into chemicals and hormones and how the body balances those. He's a nurse practitioner. That's what he loved. Like he really enjoys doing that. So he has another company
just nerds out on that.
Yeah, he super nerds out on that. So he has like another like company or two that he's started, and he's super busy. So we haven't done a whole lot of music recently, but it still flows. Music's one of those things that I think it's it connects the community. It connects
people.
Right?
Yep.
It connects people, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the most fascinating things I just thought of I was able to help out the Flex Yoga Worcester.
Okay.
So that it's a yoga studio in
I'm
Worcester.
familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. They did they call it Yoga Farm Fest. So they have it's like a 2-day, was it 1 day, 2 days? Just 1 day event, but I helped and I forgot. I got a lot of stuff going on, but like it's like this giant, like basically like a yoga outdoor convention essentially. And all these different festival.
Okay.
Yeah. Convention might be a little bit of a sticky, uptight word, festival, but there's all these it's just being able to help out with that, with our equipment that we had.
Yeah.
And just seeing people just connect with the community again.
Yeah.
It's just a fascinating thing to be a part of that and to be something that helps, connect those things with people. And it's just, I was able to help out with that. I don't remember where I was going with that. I had a point for that story, but then I totally lost it. So,
you use the equipment, I'm assuming. How do you connect?
yeah.
Yeah.
But it was neat to regardless of what you're doing, to be able to bring these people together.
Yeah. And anything you can find that's like bigger than yourself, that you're really passionate about, or that it means something to you. I think I don't know, at the essence, it's kind of who we are as human beings. I like to be able to experience those different things and come together for, a common goal that's bigger than just the individual, which is a lot about, what I'm doing, like what we do with the Father's Commitment, just being able to help the school, and something that obviously the people that are part of the nonprofit, that, things that we're super passionate about. But I get that.
Do you know Rachel Heller?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he mentioned
she's on our board.
Flex. Okay.
Yeah,
so I just saw her share the Father's Commitment.
Mm-hmm.
So I met her through Flex Yoga.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So
yeah, she's
I haven't seen
on
her
our
in
board
a while, but I just told Fred that I saw her share that she was there last year, and
yeah,
she said it was a great turnout. Her little girls obviously go there, her, but Yeah, it's super cute.
Yeah, so they're some of my wife and I's best friends, the Hellers.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah, and they live right down the street from us, so we're always at each other's houses, and I had to really talk Rachel into to helping us out because she does all of our all the media stuff and our website and getting that set up so that people could buy tickets online and stuff like that to where. Is way outside my
It's so
realm
much
of
work.
expertise. It's crazy, and she has done such a great job, and she's really taken it to new heights, and it is really
awesome.
great. But yeah, so Rachel and my wife used to work together, so that's kind of how we got to know them, and now we are we're really close. So and our girls, obviously their girls go to Saints Peter and Paul, and so our girls are always together and walk home from school together and everything like that. So again, another aspect of that small community. So yeah, I knew she was she was a part of the Flex Yoga. So wow, small world.
Yeah, I think I just realized my point that I was getting at with
Yeah.
the Flex Yoga in that community is when you recognize that, because I've mentioned that I'm kind of, I feel like we can connect with like, I don't want to like be in a crowd of people. That's not where I'm comfortable.
Yeah.
But the more you find a crowd of people that you can connect with and you find comfort in realizing that you can be in this giant group of people and recognize that, okay, these people aren't going to hurt me.
Yeah.
Like this is a community, right? Like, and you find this, that you constantly build this community around you that, maybe people aren't as bad as I think they are.
Yeah.
And you realize that these people around me are really just want to care for me and it perpetuates that like love for other people.
Yeah.
And building that community and recognizing that, okay, let's all work together.
Yeah.
Like,
we are not that different. Yeah. We're not that different.
This can be something awesome.
Yep.
Right. So I think that it exemplifies what you're doing. And
yeah,
it just,
I think like that. I think that's kind of like, I learned that. It's funny because I learned that every single time I am in a group of people that I find out that I'm not all that different from everybody here. But like, I just have to keep reminding myself of that because I don't like being in that crowd. But at the end of the day, again, I think that's kind of what we're doing here is, it's something small but yet to those involved, it's the most important things in our lives. So it was easy for us. I think it's as much time as we put into a father's commitment and as much effort as it takes. And it's worth it in the end because it's for the kids. And I don't think there's at least to me, there's not much of a better cause than helping out the little ones.
Yeah. And I think that's also to that point. It's, the more and more I think about that, the future and future generations. And I used to be very much of I don't know if I'd quite say nihilist, but it's like, when I'm gone, what does it matter?
Yeah.
Well, there's still going to be people here going through some type of experience. So like, maybe it does matter.
Yeah.
I have no idea what this whole thing's about. So, maybe there's a lot more than me here.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a lot more going on than I could ever expect. And why not try to uplift?
Yeah.
And help those around me as much as I can.
I mean, I think you just described, the Catholic religion. I think you really just described it to some degree because it is a lot of unknown. But we put our faith in something again bigger than us, and we only get a small time here. So, why not make the most of it? And why not try to, and maybe legacy is that's a, I don't know, a powerful word or a powerful word, or, maybe, I don't know, maybe too much of a word, but why not try to leave something better behind for those that are, that are going to try to continue what it is that we did or to continue the things that we were passionate about. But if nothing else, kind of pick up the pieces or, the things in which you did fail at, maybe you can leave just enough, just enough pieces of the puzzle to where it makes it easier on them so that they can maybe reach that goal or further, the commitments that you had. I think that's kind of what it's all about. My dad always used to tell me that, it was pretty much the only parenting advice that he ever gave me, but he said, like if you can try to be the person that your girls see you as, like through your eyes, like who you are through their eyes, you're never going to be able to live up to that person. And if I can, if it is really heavy for me to like sit down and like actually like try to describe like how my girls look at me, like who I am to them, I can't possibly live up to that person.
Yeah.
But if you spend every day trying, I think that, ultimately at the end of the day, you're going to be successful, at least to them, in leaving that legacy onto them so that they can maybe be that person to their kids and so forth and so on. And then all the lives that they touch and all the lives that their kids touch and, exponentially down the line. Again, you're just one person, but why not make the most of it while you can? And I think that's kind of like what you're describing there. Like, you might as well just, try to do the best you can for those around you or for those that you care about.
Yeah. What can you affect?
Yeah.
Down the line.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So Smithville School, that's really the only experience that I have. We both went to Smithville. Kyrie did Smithville from kindergarten through 4th grade. We homeschooled her this year for 5th grade.
Okay.
So what is the difference, or maybe the difference, the advantage of having your girls at a private school? I'm wondering if a private school is like in between the benefit of homeschooling and, maybe that it closes the gap between homeschooling and having the public school where you really don't have much say in what's happening.
Yeah.
Maybe?
So, as far as the education is concerned, I don't think there's that much difference as far as the public school or as opposed to a private school. But at the end of the day, it's just that religious foundation, that Catholic foundation. They have a class dedicated every day to our faith, and they talk about the things and they teach the kids about Christ and about the Catholic religion, and just how to be a good Christian. To where they're not necessarily doing that in the public school. But I can tell you the difference between for my wife and I went to the public school. In Doylestown, Chippewa, local school district. I went to Chippewa. My wife went to St. Peter and Paul. We're the same age, same grade. So, as she's going up through the grades, she was at the Catholic school, St. Peter and Paul, same school as my
That's
girls.
pretty wild.
Yeah, and I was in the public school. So, and chance happened. My wife and I grew up across the street from each other, or across the pond from each other. And again, we didn't know each other growing up because she went to the Catholic school and I went to the public school. So, fast forward, my wife and I have been together now since we were juniors in high school. So my God, that was 1996, 97. My wife teases me because people always ask me what year I graduated, and I always tell them 1998. But that's the last year I played football. So I get, and she just laughs. She goes, no. We graduated in 99 or, so anyway, but so, yeah. So that's how I wrap up my high school experiences was football. So fast forward, to, when Lena was born, we had a decision to make when she got to preschool and kindergarten.
Right.
I was not born Catholic. I had transitioned, to become Catholic before my wife and I got married. It was something, I did without her knowing because it was really, really important to me. It was important to me because of her father. If I could put a definition on what it means to love, or a definition to, and I'm going to try not to get choked up when I say this because I have a profound respect for him. And we talked a little bit about this the last time, Fred, but if I could put a definition on what love looks like, it is how my wife and her brothers and sisters look at their dad. He's a good man. And he is set in his faith, unwavering. And I didn't go to church when I was a kid. So to see that to just how, no matter how difficult things get or how difficult things got, he always had a rock. He always had his faith to fall back on, and it got him through everything. And it still does to this day. But I see the way that his kids look at him, and it's love. To whereas, we're together every weekend, and he's got my wife has 4 brothers and sisters, and we're all 4 of the 5 all live in Doylestown. The other one's trying to get back, just trying to find the right house and everything like that. So I knew that I knew I could supplement. I knew I could help with my kids' education as far as math and English and social studies. I'm really, really good at homework. I love homework. I do.
What kind of
I take that
filthy words are those?
I know.
I love homework.
I do. I love school, and I do. I love it, and my kids know it is the most important thing outside of family. And but I knew I could do up until my daughter got into 6th grade. I was no longer able to do her math at that
until
point.
they surpass you, right?
I luckily have some friends that are math teachers, and I literally called them like, "What is this?" Yeah.
What's this symbol?
So I knew I could do that, Cass. I knew I could. I knew I could help them with their math and help them with their education. But my wife and I weren't sure that we could be her dad, like he was to her and her faith. And it was really important to us. So it was a no-brainer that's where we were sending them so that they could get that education. That's the difference for us. That's why we chose Saints Peter and Paul. And we it was a big decision because, as far as education is concerned, fortunately for us, and I think it is a testament to just how important our faith is in our community, is that because we are a small Catholic school, our teachers might not necessarily make as much money as they could make, being at a public school. But they're there. It's more about being a Catholic school teacher and that service, because it was important to them, and they were raised very similar to the way my wife was raised. And many of those teachers are friends of ours. They're the same age as us, that they've stayed in Doylestown and they're still here, because it's something bigger than them. It's bigger than money. It's bigger than their profession or their professional life, and it just means something to us. So I guess that was the difference. That's why we chose Saints Peter and Paul, and I think that's, for the most part, I think that's the biggest difference, is that my wife and I guess, to simplify it, like, we just didn't know the Bible, like Sarah's dad knew the Bible, and we just were afraid, that in every conversation with him, in the slightest, best way possible, he can incorporate Christ into what it is that he's trying to say, and no matter what, it goes back to that. And it's just, I don't know, it's a sense of comfort knowing that we were afraid that we weren't going to be able to do that. So that's why we chose Saints Peter and Paul.
I think it's fascinating. It's really commendable that you find something that, at least the way it seems, that's important and that means something to you, right? And that's, you can be steady with, you can, rely on, and that it gives you guidance to, I know you haven't necessarily said it, but just being a good human.
Yeah.
And, being a good person. It shines through.
Yeah.
And
you just taught me something about myself, and just that word that you just used, meaning. Everything I do in my life, I need meaning. I need to have a sense. I don't, my wife, she teases me because I don't read, I don't read fiction. I have to be learning something. There has to be I have to have a purpose. So, I'll read parenting books, or, things, whatever it is. I'll read books about bourbon and about how it's made, in the mash bill, in the history. I love the history. I do. I am so grounded in history. I wanted to be a history teacher. I just wasn't smart enough. So I ended up having to be a police officer. I don't know why. I'm entirely certain how that worked, but
I wanted to be a math teacher, and I feel like I wasn't smart enough or patient enough.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And you should see the whiteboard across the hall in Kyrie's schoolroom. And I walk in and I'm like,
she hates it so much.
It's like hieroglyphics.
Homeschooling, you are math, because I am out.
Yeah. Well, she tries really hard to do her math correctly, just so I won't lecture her on how to do math.
However you get there, sir, however you get there, however it works. I don't care.
I'm like, let's do a math lesson today. And she's like,
call it strategy, call it whatever, however you get it done. So what made you guys decide? What made you guys decide to homeschool?
I think it was a combination of things. One, she just wasn't, it's definitely a combination of things. There were times where she was bored in school. Really bored. Like would come home and she would complain for weeks at a time that she was bored.
I can relate to this.
And this is like 4th grade.
Yeah.
So like,
and up until 4th grade, she loved school,
she
right?
loves
She's an only kid.
Yeah.
She's social. We are opposites. Like I'm a homebody.
Me too.
I don't have to leave. She wants to talk to everybody. She loves
always
everybody.
has been. She was the kid.
Always.
Even as a toddler, she would like read the cashier's name tag. Be like, "Thanks a lot, Stacy."
Yeah.
And like,
Just to talk to her.
I've got one like that too, and I will purposely not take her because I don't want to engage.
'Cause you have to get in and
Yeah,
out.
I don't- yeah,
Like,
I don't have
I don't have the
time for
time
this.
today.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kai.
Yeah.
You have to
We
see him.
cannot
Yes.
learn the cashier's favorite color. I'm sorry. We don't have time for that today.
And it's so sad to them.
Yeah.
You know,
And
'Cause that's just who they are.
And I feel so terrible because she just wants the. She's
Yeah.
just such a good heart. And,
Yeah.
I relate.
So that
That's-
was
so-
but she was coming home bored.
Yeah.
And it was like she was super bored, and we're like, well, we kind of started tossing around the idea of, I guess maybe the trigger to this was COVID hit.
Okay.
And
Everybody was homeschooling.
she was, everybody was quote unquote homeschooling.
Yeah.
But like she would do all of her normal work. And by like 11:30 in the morning, she's like, I'm done. We're like, what do you mean you're done? She's like, well, yeah, I did all the stuff that we do. And I'm like, well, what do you do all day? And then I, start thinking back, like, what do you do in school all day?
Yeah.
You ride the bus for 20 minutes or plus, minus, whatever. And then you take 10 minutes to put your book bag in your locker and sit down at school. And then you take another 5-10 minutes to roll call and do all the things. And then it's such big classes that teachers have to teach in a way that brings everybody along with them.
Mm-hmm. And everybody in the room learns at different speeds.
Right. And so then she started having not necessarily like friendship problems, but just, normal kid stuff.
Yeah.
But then it started getting to the point where she was like, what'd you learn today? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. And we're like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then she was like, well, we've just been doing the same thing over for the last 3, and it lasted for 3 weeks. And we're like, what do you mean? Like, how can you be doing the same thing?
Yeah.
And then we got an email. It was like, hey, next week is going to be state testing.
Oh.
Just so everyone's aware, like we're prepping the kids. And it was like, oh, that's what this is.
Yeah.
Like they take 3 weeks to make sure everyone's ready for the test.
And they're teaching them to the test, to
Exactly.
pass the test.
And which I get. And there's things on the test that, I'm not trying to like really bash public schools. I'm not trying to do that.
And Smithville's great.
And they are. Like,
love it. Like she's going back next year.
She
decided I think the thing that tipped the scale was she was like, well, can I be homeschooled? Because his sister homeschools, 4 kids.
And we know a couple of teachers and like
that they homeschool
a professor
their
that I'm
kids.
friends with
Yeah.
that like homeschool. So we just toss it
and
out.
If you have the ability, and then why not try it? Like things that aren't working out.
Yeah, like if she just said, can we homeschool? And I was like, bro, no.
Yeah.
Like I am a nerd. I'm not a teacher. Like that's not my thing.
Yeah.
I have 1 kid. Like this is not like my thing. But she really wanted to, and he's like, babe, we can make it work. Like
we can at least
he
try
works
it.
from
like
home.
she's in.
I work part time.
She'll be in
like
5th
we can make
grade.
it work.
Yeah. And up until I don't 6th grade. I think it's
And that's
right,
also
my
a thing too.
but-
We didn't want to wait too long. If if you want to go back to school,
then you can.
we can't. We don't want to wait too long because like homeschooling her for 3 years and then sending her back freshman year.
Yeah, then the social,
That's
that's a
that
lot
could
of
be-
anxiety. Yeah,
That could be brutal as well.
Yeah.
So like we're like, all right, like we tried it.
Yeah.
She's probably gonna go back, and I think she's definitely gonna have some grass is greener
Yeah.
moments on the other side for
Mhm.
sure.
'Cause middle school is hard.
Yes, it
Middle
is.
school is rough.
Well, middle school is like it really is like a social experiment. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it really does. Like, you just
Yeah.
throw them in there with all these different people. Can they get along? Can they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's difficult.
hard.
It's
And
difficult.
so she has high hopes for middle school.
Yeah.
Because you know that you do get to decide a little bit of where you're going to spend some of your extracurricular time. They offer different things that we can't offer her here.
Yeah.
You know, she misses the lunch lady. Like I've said that, and we like laugh.
Her lunch
But
lunch
she-
lady was like one of her
Hey.
best friends.
You know,
Hey.
she loves.
She loves the cashier.
Yeah,
Like,
you know,
she loves talking to
loves-
people.
And, now she's her own lunch lady. Like, listen, bro, we taught independence this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go get lunch.
These are your
Yeah,
3
yeah.
options. Like,
Yeah.
You
we are
learned how to use the
busy.
toaster.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, now she puts stuff in the oven. She like does the things that it was just before. It was just quicker and easier for us to do, and then we realized,
Yeah.
we're doing all
We
these
need
things
to
for
teach
you.
you
Like,
Yeah. We have
you're
a
home now. We can.
Yeah, I have a
we can
hard,
teach you.
fast rule that I have to remind myself too is that I will not do anything that they can do on their own. But you got to remind you, like sometimes you just like because you're in a hurry.
Yeah.
Like, I got to get. Like, here's your
Yeah.
coat. Put your coat on. Here we go.
Yeah.
And then you got to. I just have to slow myself down and say, hey,
Mhm.
listen, they can
You
do
can
all of
do
those
this.
things. They can butter their own bread. They
Mhm.
can use the toaster.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
done, and we
Yeah.
did a lot of that. We took advantage of a lot of that this year. Well, so then when she was like, I think I want to go back to school next year, I was like, well, the curriculum we did this year might not align exactly
what it is that-
with. So, and she likes testing because she tests well. She's advanced in math and reading, and she's done very well on the state test.
She'll be fine.
And so she
Yeah,
loves it.
she'll be fine.
Yeah,
And
but
so now I'm like,
she's
hey, we're gonna do state testing for your end of year assessment.
You still. So I'm assuming you still have to do that.
You don't have to.
there's a couple different
There's some
avenues
options.
you
Okay.
can do.
But
Yeah.
that's
one of
if
them.
we
Yeah.
do that, she doesn't have we don't have to submit anything that we did this year. She just has to score above like
Certain.
25 percentile. So like this girl did,
Yeah.
Yeah,
You could
she'll be
probably have
fine.
done nothing with her, and she still would have.
and that
Yeah.
So we've been trying to like close that gap though in the last like 4 weeks because she
she wants,
to do
well.
very
Yeah,
well.
So it's like, all right, well.
So
if
we're
you
like,
wanna-
okay, well,
Yeah.
and not that we didn't do anything this year, but like she didn't want to learn about world history. She wanted to learn about U.S. history. Well, in 5th grade, they really focus on like world history. But I'm not going to sit here and try to teach her something that's boring,
Yeah.
So we've learned a lot of things. She really has enjoyed being home. She's enjoyed like the independence. She has crammed school into 4 days, so she has every Friday off.
Oh,
And she does
nice.
that on her own because she wants to. But if like
You know-
grandpa can
you know
take her
she's-
somewhere.
She's growing up and she's going to find a job in which she does not have to work on Friday.
Yeah, oh,
That's
for
happening.
sure.
Yeah.
She's,
She's
gonna
gonna
find
need-
that flexibility.
I think she's
Good
going to
for
go
you.
to school next year and be like, oh, I
Gotta
really
go.
like my
Yeah, I got that's definitely gonna be the grass
think-
is greener is
Yeah.
getting
How
up
many,
at like
how many
6
sick
o'clock in
days
the
do I
morning.
have? 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going on Friday.
When grandpa calls Monday night and is like, hey, I'm going to the cabin. Can Kai come? Well, yeah, because, you're
She can make-
homeschooled.
Right.
So
She
we
can do
can
her
a lot
address
of
that.
flexibility. Yeah.
Well,
a lot of
next year you
flexibility.
don't
Can't do
have
that.
that. I mean, I'm an advocate for like mental health days and things. I think that kids need that too. So like we'll adjust some things, but
You don't
at
have the
school you don't have as
flexibility.
much
Yeah.
flexibility. So
Yeah.
and
And I think that school, I think especially at that age, school is more of, just learning those skills like organization and
Yeah.
following directions and can you duplicate this and, and stuff like that. I get so mad because our St. Peter and Paul, they still teach cursive. And I don't understand I don't understand why we, but and my wife has to remind me it's not the fact that they need to write cursive, it's just the, it's artistic, it's a skill, it's, can they
Yeah.
duplicate, can they follow directions and things like that. So I get it, but I still don't.
Yeah, no, I guess some
why
of that
we're
too.
wasting
And
time teaching.
I think there is a
Yeah.
healthy,
Can you read it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
because there's legal documents that you
Yep.
might get into
Yep.
that
Mhm.
are written in cursive because
Yep,
of
I get
the
it.
age and everything. Like, I think that's an important point too that you make there. That, as we've talked about homeschooling and having that flexibility, and I'm one that I had a terrible time in school. I realized, like, I was 3.8 or higher until probably my sophomore year, until I realized like this is a sham.
Yeah. I don't have to do this.
Because like my
Yeah.
trajectory just didn't align with
Mhm.
what school aligns with.
Yeah.
But there is something to your point of being able to teach kids that there are times where, guess what, you need to be able to have the physical and emotional and mental control to sit in a chair for an hour.
Yep.
And not move.
And there are some kids that cannot do it.
You can't do it. And
Yeah.
I understand that, like, that's not always how the world is.
Yeah.
But, like, guess what? If you need to go to the DMV to renew your license, you might have to sit in a
there.
chair for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And you need at least the understanding of how to do that.
Yeah. And now more than ever.
If nothing else.
Yeah. And now more than ever, like, kids are just, especially with technology, and I go back to the technology thing, it's constant stimulus. Like, they are being stimulated at every second of every day, and they need it's constant attention. The kids can't, like, they have a hard time just sitting still and just doing nothing. And I think it is a lost art of that people that you, again, and I go back to, like, the world is just moving so fast, and there's not enough time in the day to do all the things that we need to do, that we have lost. Like, I mean, if you just think about, back in history, before, like, even TVs or radios, in which there was nothing, and there's no neighbors, there's no, like, you just sat there at candlelight and you talk to each other, but there was a decompression. There was this quiet, this calm that you could, just regroup for tomorrow, to be your best self. And kids don't have that anymore. It is constant interaction, constant entertainment from daylight till dark, and and even after dark. And so I think it's a skill to have to sit there and listen to the teacher and not do anything for 45 minutes.
And maybe that's a better an example of it is the ability to sit in stillness and calmness with yourself, even if there is stimulus going on around you.
Yeah.
That's because we just recently had a conversation with a mom and son that are both ADD, ADHD, like that, and we even had the discussion that was like, maybe, like, this isn't necessarily like a problem, quote unquote, or a whatever it is.
It just is.
It just that's just how your brain works. So it's all right. How do they live in a normal and not normal? I don't want to use that word. How do they live in
today's society?
The structured society. So, like, we had those we talked for over 2.5 hours, and it was like they realized that, all right, there's things that, like, the society, how it's been built up, like, doesn't necessarily always lend to how we would like it to be.
Right.
Yeah. Well, guess that's how it is for everybody. There's parts of society that I don't like either.
Sure.
Like, I don't like, if I want to go and watch a concert, I'm going to have to be around a bunch of people that I would love to go sit center stage and watch a concert of my favorite artist without anybody there. But guess what? I can't do that.
Yeah.
And it gives, and I don't, it's uncomfortable for me to be around a bunch of people. So, like, it's just realizing and recognizing that we all operate a little differently, and being able to control ourselves in uncomfortable situations, or situations that we don't necessarily always want to be in. Naturally, like, you don't want to be subjected to something like that day and day and day over and over and over. Like, that can be brutal. Maybe we should try to find something different at that point. But do you have the ability to sit with yourself in silence for an hour? Most people don't.
No.
I mean,
I would struggle too. Yeah.
I struggle with that.
Yeah.
It was we talked about it recently. We went and did the float tanks. It's basically an isolation chamber. Essentially, I don't know if you ever tried one.
I have not.
It's pretty cool. It's body temperatured water. It's full of salt. So it's kind of like, you think about the buoyancy of the water is you float regardless, because there's so much salt content in the water, and there's like a big pod,
and
you can close the lid, and it's complete darkness, complete essentially silence, and you're just floating
alone with your thoughts,
alone in complete darkness. And it's as much.
But it doesn't have to be dark. You can have
doesn't
the
have to
option
be.
to
You can
have
have the
different
lights
lights. You
on.
can have music going if you want.
You can do those things, but it gives you the opportunity to sit
and just be quiet
and be completely quiet with as pressure free as you can feel because you're floating on water.
Okay, so just no interaction with
There's-
anything around, like
Yeah,
my butt's not even on the seat. I'm not even touching the table.
You can.
You're just-
There's so much salt in the water.
Yeah.
So there's so much salt in the water that you can just lay there with nothing.
How many
and
times
your
have you guys
body
done
just
it?
floats? Just once. It was phenomenal.
Where did you go to do it at?
Lakewood, up towards
Oh,
Cleveland.
okay.
There's a couple places. I'd love to. I wish there was a closer place around here because there's just something about sitting with yourself and the least amount of inputs, sensory inputs you have. There's just something about being quiet with yourself. Right. And being able to do those things. But there's also something about being able to be calm in an entire arena of people and recognize where you're at.
Yeah.
And there's
I've been dabbling in meditation for a while just to kind of just drown out the noise. And I found myself just being able to cope with my anxiety so much better just with the simple idea of just like follow, just the only thing that I can do is just follow my breath in and follow my breath out.
You should try that.
Yeah.
You should try that. It takes it to the core real quick.
Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I feel like I'm a simplest at heart. Like I love the simple, and I love so meditation was right down my alley, but I think I would probably get into that.
Yeah, it's neat.
It's freeing.
And that was the nice thing with Kai being homeschooled. I was like, you have to journal every day for 10 to 15 minutes.
I love that.
I don't care what it is, just journal. It's private for you.
Yep.
It's something that I'll never look at. Just get it out.
Yep.
And it's just something that, it works for me. It's just something that to just get it out.
Yeah.
And it's quiet time, so she has that ability where she's not on any electronics. Some of the curriculum, I'm like an old school pen and paper.
Mhm.
And so unfortunately that's what she got because I don't
love
want to
it.
have to be on the computer. And then, some of her stuff is on the computer just because it's so much faster. And, that's reality. That's what her life is going to be,
It's efficiency too.
Yeah.
Typing class, I can't do that without,
You
Yeah.
need
she
to
needs
learn how to type.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
But it's
I tell
just-
people that's the only class in high school that I still use to this day. Is typing
Yeah,
class. I'm an
for
awesome
sure.
typer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's made my life so much easier. But
I remember how ridiculous that class was. And I was like,
Yeah.
this is so dumb.
Yeah.
And now I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
We I want to get back to what you're saying, Cass, but I took typing in this is how long a teacher could not. The teacher did this now, you'd be arrested. But he used to make the kid behind you hold a match, and you had to type the alphabet before the match burned his fingers. Like that's what we were. I mean,
Yeah, I didn't have that type. I didn't have that type of class.
I was just like, what on earth is going on? But back then it was just like, all right, do it.
We were talking about names. Our typing teacher, do you remember it was Kiba?
I know.
Coach Kiba.
It was
What was he-
Kiba?
That's
it
who
was
taught
not
ours.
my type of teacher.
And he would walk in and he'd go,
He was my football
Cassie,
coach.
my sister's named Cassie. I never liked her.
Oh,
Cool.
thanks.
That was my
I have
typing
some. I
teacher.
have some stories.
I'm not
about-
her. I'm not her.
Yeah.
We had to go to like the trailers behind the school.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. They were like,
Coach
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Ki-
like the
what
pot.
was his
Those are like
Was it
pots.
Kiba?
Kiba.
That was my.
Was that his name? Is it-
Oh,
that's
yeah.
who was
No,
that?
it was. He was my football coach. I loved him. He was like an uncle to me. But I have much different stories.
Yeah. Well, he was our typing teacher. I think it just kind of fell in his
That's
lap.
fine.
But anyway.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, but I
Sorry.
love that. I love the idea of pen to paper, and I love just being able to express. It just really helps them. My oldest does the same thing, and we make her journal like her thoughts and her anxieties and the things, and then especially with that, we've been trying to give her some coping skills and some resources to help with those anxieties and things like that. So once she's done with that, then she just has to write out of the things that she's learned or the things that do help her, that she's admitted that do help her be calm or get through some of her feelings and emotions and things like that, like just to write down like what she could have done or what what she did do in order to cope with those situations and things like that. But just that few minutes of just shutting everything else off, and it's just you and your thoughts. And I love that idea.
Self-awareness.
Yeah, I do that too. I don't know if I guess it is a journal I keep at work, and just like everything that I did that day and like the things that I learned, I just kind of jot down real quick. And if nothing else, it's fun to just go back, and I love just like flipping through and like, what was I doing last year at this time? And then I have my little notes and stuff.
Well, I think it's something that like I didn't learn until I was an adult, that like you're not your thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like if you can learn that and like, but if you can get it on paper, I can move on much faster, and Kyrie she had a journal before that we got, and it was like, what is your mood, and she would color in whatever face match, was she sad? Was she mad? Was she, and then she would reflect on, well, why was yesterday? Why was I angry?
Yeah.
And without it, she would never think about that. She just would have a bad day. But with it, she was like, oh, I like kind of that like self-awareness, like, why was I feeling this? And was it me? Was it somebody else? How did I handle it?
Yeah.
And that's just, they don't have time to teach things like that
No.
in school.
And that's what I could not agree with you anymore. I don't think that we teach kids how to cope or how to understand those feelings and those thoughts. And I love what you just said right there, that you are not your thoughts. They're just the thoughts that you're having. And we, my wife and I try to tell my daughter all the time that, and I don't think kids understand, like, so like when kids have a feeling, like they don't understand that feeling's not going to last forever. Yeah. Like it
doesn't make them.
That's right. And they're in that moment and they feel like that, like, this is it. They're not thinking about like the fact that this is going to go away. They're just stuck in that moment. And I think that was one of the biggest things that helped Lena, is just to help her understand that you've got this feeling right now, but it won't last forever. It will go away. And I think just saying that out loud or writing those things down, she made the comment to me that like she felt like that just by writing the feeling down, that like it was just allowing her to release it or to let it go. So I love that aspect of just explaining to them certain things that you take for granted or you don't even think about. I think it's important, but no, it's not being taught in school. And
when we as adults, at least for me, I minimize what she's going through because I'm like,
yeah, that's silly.
I can see beyond that. But for her, when she's in it, she can't see above it.
Everything.
They haven't built that capability.
I'm really bad at that.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like,
same here.
Move on. It'll be fine.
Yeah. How many times do we say it's fine? Don't worry about that.
But for them, that is they are so worried.
That's their entire universe, because they're so young and they just don't understand that it isn't forever. But
and then you throw in like the hormones and the emotion, and it's just. Obviously, I've never done this before. This is our first rodeo. It's like you can just see it, and it's just, I don't know what to do. I'm only 34. I can kind of remember back, but it's just, I just remember it was a disaster.
Yeah. And not only that, like when we were kids, it was so different anyway. Like I tell parents all the time, and I don't think they understand this. And I think until you say it out loud, you just really don't realize like what was going on. Like especially with we throw this word around all the time, and especially in law enforcement, I hear this word all the time, this buzzword of being bullied, and I think a lot of times, unfortunately, I think some parents, I'm not speaking ill of. I mean that it does happen.
Absolutely.
And for those that are experiencing it, it's terrible. It's something that absolutely needs to be addressed, and we need to take those things serious. But I think sometimes we get that confused with being made fun of or being picked on or being everybody has experienced
an interaction with just another human being that we just don't feel comfortable with.
And it comes back to where not everybody is going to like you. And that's okay, and they're going to be different than you, and they're going to, they're not going to like you for one reason or another, whether you believe that or not. It's the truth. It's a fact. So I think a lot of times parents get confused because the first time that someone says someone mean to their child and that child comes home, it's awful. Like it's just, it really is awful. Like you don't want your child to have to feel like that, but it is a part of being able to cope with society.
And sometimes we need to feel that way. Because I'll be the first one to say, sometimes I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm not nice. Do I mean to be that way? Probably not. Yeah. But sometimes I'm having a bad day or this,
not
that,
everyone
whatever.
is going to be your friend.
Yeah. And I'm not always going to be nice to everybody.
Nope.
And it's okay. And like if they call me out on it, then okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You got me.
And those are
You know-
those are true life lessons.
Yeah,
those
and
are
I've-
true life lessons.
And it's really hard too, I think. And that's one thing we've at least tried to demonstrate with our child.
Yeah.
And this is really hard is when we're like that towards our child and going back later and going,
yeah,
okay, look, this is uncomfortable. Probably even more for me than it is for you.
Yeah.
But I messed up.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yep.
And like we hope out of all the things that we're not doing well, that those few times where we're like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That I really screwed up as your dad.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
hopefully
Again, it goes back to we did.
it
There was no
shines
manual,
through
and we did the best. But
Yeah.
just know we did the best we
Yeah.
could. But on the lines of the bullying, I think is what because it was different when we were younger. It's the cell phone because
Yeah.
and here's the difference. And because we just gave our oldest a cell phone, and
How old? 13?
she's 13. Yeah, so she just got a cell phone for Christmas last year. So it was I was against it just because I
a tough
see
call.
all
Yeah,
the
sure.
nasty things that go on with social media and with the phones and stuff like that. But you can do it safely, and I know that. And it wasn't, and so now Lena she's into soccer and basketball, and she's on 2 different soccer teams, 2 different basketball teams, and it's practices every day. And the 2
You
younger
don't have
ones.
time for a cell phone.
This is when I realized, okay, I'm being ridiculous. So one of my best friends is a high school history teacher, and I was texting him to tell Lena things at school because she didn't have a phone like that I would pick her up, and like now I'm making his life inconvenient because I won't get my daughter a cell phone. So it really did come down to convenience,
Yeah.
and it really did make sense. And there is that sense of, she can get in touch with me if she's in trouble and things like that. So obviously you can do that well. But with the cell phone, when I was picked on as a kid, and I can think of one vividly. My mom called sweatpants joggers, and I would call them joggers, and I got made fun of because they're joggers. So I remember that. So so it's like, but again, I wasn't being bullied. I was just being teased.
Yeah.
But again, no matter how bad it got at school, and no matter how bad of a day I had, I knew when I got home I can get away from it. They couldn't reach me.
Yeah.
I couldn't reach anybody else. There was no real way to
unless
contact
they're
you.
dialing up your home
Yeah,
line.
you got to dial the
and then talk to-
landline.
You got to
Yeah.
get through. You
Nobody's
got to
that
get through
committed.
dad or
Yeah,
mom.
exactly.
Yeah.
And again, not only that, but you
Yeah.
don't know who's calling because we didn't even have caller ID
Yeah.
back then, and nobody was doing that. But you
Right.
knew you could get away from it. Now
Yeah.
kids can't get away from it. It's 24/7 of the being made fun of,
And maybe that's what
yeah.
makes even being a parent harder, because now
Yeah.
it's like, at least for us, it seems like we're like trying to recognize it. Like now it's like, I feel like we have to try to be really cognizant.
Yeah.
To not be the assholes at home too.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like kids are already going to deal with it when they go to school.
Yeah.
When they go to
Let
sports.
this at least be a
if they
safe.
have phone. Yeah. Now how can we be a safe haven, but
Yeah.
also still be the parental figure?
Yeah. There's
That is, instilling
there's
the
still
values, the
expectations.
respect,
Yeah.
the expectations.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's not enough expectations sometimes, but
That's also true.
but- yeah, it's
So for
It's
her
interesting.
phone, so Kai doesn't have a phone yet, but she does have an iPad that she can have like Messenger on.
would use
she-
email or Wi-Fi
Like yeah. So she
Yeah.
can't use it unless it's
on your Wi-Fi. Yeah, that's
so-
I have my Adrian. She's our middle child. She's she has that's what she has with an eye. Hers is an iTouch, I think, whatever it's called.
Yeah, so
Some
she did
kind of-
have an old
some
phone
kind
and
of
it just didn't work. So now
technology
she's using
device.
an
Yeah.
old iPad.
Yeah.
But she can message her grandmas.
Yeah.
She can now that she's
Yeah.
homeschooled.
My mom
she
loves
has
it.
like yeah. And they can have
and I
their
get
own
on it, and they've been, oh my
conversations.
god! And I get on there, and like she's been talking with my mom for like 4 hours. I'm
Yeah.
like, Mom, go to bed.
Yeah, right.
Mom, go.
And it's great, and they love it.
Yeah.
Now that she's homeschooled, that was one thing that we were a little nervous about. So she was able to. I didn't even know this was a thing. She was able to, with both parents approving it. Now she can talk to like her friends.
Mhm.
So she has like, I don't know, 5 or 6
Yeah.
friends that she can communicate with.
But she has to be on your Wi-Fi network.
Yes.
She has to be here.
And I don't know anything about it, but he has like the parental
Yeah, there's ways to do
safeguards
it. Like
on
you
it.
said,
Yeah.
there's
They
ways
make it
to
a
do
lot
safely.
easier. So I get nervous with that too. But next year she will be in middle school and she'll be not home, and it'll be weird because I'm used to seeing her all the time now. But there are things that sometimes she has to stay after school, and it would be a lot easier.
Yeah.
At drama practice, it's so nice if she could text me like, "Hey, we finished early,"
Right.
and said she sits there.
Yeah.
Which is fine because that's life.
Yeah.
You're at this thing that you want to do, so now you have to sit there.
Yeah.
But it would be
It's convenient.
convenient.
It's convenient. I mean, it is. I don't. I mean, I say that word like it's a bad word, but it is convenient. It makes
Sometimes,
my
yeah.
life. It makes my life easier.
Yeah.
You know.
And sometimes we need things to make our lives easier.
No
so
kidding.
That's stuff that makes it hard.
No kidding. Why?
So-
And that's what my wife said to me. She's like, "Why are we making this more difficult on ourselves?"
Yeah.
You know.
Especially
but again,
if you can control the things.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's again that's a decision. Like that's we're making it easier on my wife. My wife and I are making it easier on us. But she wants a cell phone, so she got it. She got it because we were inconvenienced.
But how do you, like you said, you've put the parameters in place to consider, all right, how do we still make this safe?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think the biggest thing, and I wish I tell in law enforcement, I just tell a lot of parents this because I think a lot of times parents, it comes back to that what they don't know won't hurt them. So they just pretend like everything's fine because they're afraid of what they're going to find. And if they find it, then they're going to have to deal with it. And it goes back to there's just not enough time in the day and we don't want another problem. So, I tell parents all the time, you have to stop pretending like your kids are not doing these things
Immune to
because they are.
things. Yeah.
And, and learning about it, even though you don't want them to be, that person that's made that mistake or made that decision, or they're not the kid that you think they might be, it's a learning opportunity. We all make mistakes, but you have to check the phone all the time.
Yeah.
And they have to know that you're going to, and same thing with bedrooms and things like that. But again, it all comes down to do you have that open relationship with your kids that you can talk to them about anything? Are you sitting down and talking to your kids about feelings and, is this an okay
And do
place
your
to
kids
come
feel
talk?
comfortable
Yeah,
sitting down with you?
absolutely.
talking
And if you
about those
don't
things?
do it, they're not gonna be.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
got to sit down and talk about these things, and you have to be honest. And I think at the end of the day, if they can just trust that, although you're going to be held accountable, we're going to work through it together.
There it is.
We'll get this fixed.
Yeah.
You will be held accountable. You are going to be in trouble. I am going to be disappointed, but those feelings don't last forever. And that doesn't, one mistake doesn't define you. So
Oof.
Makes me feel better about.
Yeah.
We have this thing where
There
if
it is.
Kyrie asks us a question, we give her an honest answer,
got to.
and we try
If
to
you're-
make it. And she
If
knows
you're old
this.
enough to ask the question,
You're old
We'll-
enough to get the
we'll
answer.
give you the
yeah,
answer.
that's right.
Even if we are all uncomfortable as we were discussing it, and I try to make things not look uncomfortable because I don't want her to have any shame in things that people put shame on.
Yeah.
And I don't want that for her.
Yeah.
And sometimes she will ask a question and it's like,
Yeah.
we're doing this. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's like, you heard it somewhere. You
Yeah.
learned it somewhere. And I
Mhm.
don't want you to learn the wrong thing.
If you're not going to give them the answer, they're going to find it.
Yeah. And they're going to find the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're gonna learn it the way that a 20-year-old should learn it, and she's 11. So
Yeah.
we try to break it down to the parameters that her mind can understand. There are maybe 2 questions ever that she's asked us, and we're like, I honestly can't answer that because your brain just can't
No.
comprehend it right now.
Yeah.
None of us
You know,
are ready for that right now.
We will have that
Yeah.
conversation when you are ready, but there's nothing I can give you
Yeah.
that you can comprehend right now, and I
Yeah.
couldn't even tell you what that is. But
Yeah.
she learned just like stuff on the bus last year. There were things that I had to Google. I don't know what a pansexual is. I had to Google that, but I want to. But
The
it comes down
terminology
to-
is-
I
it's-
don't
it's-
know
Let's
these
give you
things.
the most information
Yeah.
that we
Yeah,
can.
But
that's
somebody
going
called
to-
somebody that on the bus, and she knew
Yeah.
that we would tell her the truth. And I hope that it's always
Yeah.
that, that she calls and doesn't say, I can't tell my mom or my dad because they're going to be mad. That she calls because she knows that, like, we're going to come through.
Yeah.
And she knows that she can ask us the hard questions, and we have to sit down and, like, okay, you can't always tell your friends these things because their parents may not have had
Yeah.
this.
Like Santa Claus doesn't exist.
Yeah, amen.
That's not your job
Yeah,
to tell your
that is
friends.
that's
their
not your
parents'
job.
job.
Yeah, absolutely.
but you asked
But-
us.
yeah.
So
But by the
here we
way,
are.
neither does the Easter Bunny.
Yeah.
Or
So, like, here we are. You know, you ask these hard questions. That doesn't
Yeah.
mean that you can go tell your friends because they may
Yeah.
not. Their parenting style.
Yeah, it really
has to
comes
be
down.
very
That's not your responsibility. That's not your
Yeah.
job to talk
So-
to them about it. But I
But
agree. I agree.
she's came home and she has asked questions, and it's
That's one of our biggest fears is like that. Last year was the first year that Lena knew that Santa didn't exist, and it was really tough for my wife because she really loves Christmas, and again it goes back to her. She really loved her childhood, and so she wants to try to replicate that as much as possible, and obviously as times change and everything like that. But so that was difficult, but it's always been our biggest worry that like kids at school were going to tell them, and that we couldn't, that we weren't going to be the ones that were going to kind of like let them, give them a soft landing for some of these things. But
did she keep it from her?
yes.
Sisters?
Oh yeah. No,
She
she's a
hasn't?
part of. Oh no, she would never. She would she would never do that because she was disappointed and she it was important to her and she no, she would never do that. And now she helps us and she's now a part of the Santa
experience.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
and
that's
she
what it is.
she loves that just as
Yeah.
much. But we but Santa's the only thing that. We really, because we're my wife and I are the same way as you guys. It is the truth, like whether it's difficult or not, whether it's what you want to hear or whether or not there's consequence that comes with it, you're going to get the truth, and that's easier said than done sometimes because you do want to protect them and guard them, and some conversations you just don't want to have because it is rough, and there's been times in which I've had to tell Lena that, hon, I don't know the answer to that, but I'll find out, but I said give me the common courtesy of at least let me explain to you first before you are going out there and talk to somebody else, and I think she appreciates the fact that I don't think I know all the answers.
Yeah.
Again, by now, she definitely knows I don't now by now, but yeah. So but the Santa Claus is kind of the only thing that we kind of do that with. It was kind of funny with the Easter Bunny because Sarah and I have really never talked about it. It's never been discussed. Like, obviously Easter, next week going into Holy Week for us and our faith is an important time. So Easter is an important time. So it's always been more about Christ than it's been about the Easter Bunny. But we've never really talked about it before. And a couple years ago, we asked my middle daughter. The whole family was talking about like the Easter Bunny and stuff like that. So I asked. We call her Nug. Her nickname's Nug. She was our little nugget, and then it kind of turned. All three of my girls have nicknames. My oldest is Duchess. She's always been Duchess, Dutchy. She used to watch the I don't know if you guys have seen the Aristocrats, the Walt Disney cartoon, where the mother would walk around and call for the kittens, and the oldest kitten or the one kitten whose name was Duchess, and she'd walk around and Duchess. Yeah,
Okay.
Duchess. So my daughter used to love that show, used to walk around and say that.
I
So
see,
she
yeah.
turned into Duchess, Dutchy, and then Nug, and then my last one is Fritz or Fritzl, or I don't know where that came from. But they just did have these nicknames. So anyway, Nug, we asked Nug, he's like, Nug, what's did you ever think that there was like an Easter Bunny or anything like that? And she kind of thought for a second. She goes, no. She goes, I thought about it for a second, but she goes, the thought of there being that Dad letting a giant Easter Bunny run around our house. She goes, I knew that was never going to happen. So she knew that wasn't happening.
It's funny that like she can think through that because we never really hyped up the whole Santa thing, but like there was a Santa.
Yeah.
We
But
never.
that's probably school.
We never told her like
and the
well,
grandparents
and
or
the
whatever
grandparents.
else. Yeah.
We made sure that like, my mom and Dad would write, from Santa or just
Right.
not.
So my mom did the same thing. Yeah.
We wouldn't write who our gifts were from, here, but they were from Santa.
Santa,
She
yeah.
just knew.
Yeah.
And we didn't correct her. Like we're not gonna like rip
yeah.
that away from
Yeah.
her. But we didn't hype it up per se at home. But there was a Santa,
Yeah.
and she was pretty devastated. She was kind of flirting around it when
Kinda.
she was like
knew
9.
It. She
That's
came
how
to
Lena
the
was
point
too. She was
knew.
kind of
Flirting
she was
around.
kind of like, this is
You guys would never lie to me,
And
right?
he's coming down the chimney. Like
Yeah.
what?
Yeah,
Like,
we have a wood fireplace
Yeah, like,
with a
what?
2.5-inch stove.
And
How's that
the
work?
biggest thing with Lena was all the gifts all in one night. Like what? Like
Yeah,
she
that's-
knew.
yeah.
She knew.
Yeah.
Well, was it that one year she goes, Mom, Santa has the same wrapping paper that you have?
I
was like,
yeah.
And I
Well,
finally just said,
busted.
Smart,
if you would like
smart.
to ask the
Yeah,
question,
busted.
please ask the question.
Yeah.
Because at this point, like,
Yeah.
I'm
know
slightly
you-
insulted.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah.
what are we doing
Yeah.
here? You know, has somebody told you? Have they
Yeah.
not?
Mhm.
Like, so
Yeah.
like, ask the question, and you know, Band-Aid got ripped off. But then for a whole like year after that, she's like, I still think it's true. I'm like, good for
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
That's cool. You can
Believe
have
away.
that.
And again, back to our faith, believing in something that you
Yeah.
can't necessarily see, and the same thing. And then again, there's that sense of magic and
Yeah.
I don't know. And
It's
I don't-
fun.
yeah, again, something bigger than us. And
And that's important
Yeah.
piece to hang on to, right? I
Mhm.
mean, something like we've talked about. I guess we could probably. You're like 2.5 hours already. I don't.
Oh,
wanna-
I
Do you have
don't-
a time frame?
I didn't know. Like,
Yeah.
I usually ask
Okay.
that.
Yeah, I sorry we
Yeah.
didn't ask you, but I guess maybe to that whole point, right? The community, right?
Yeah.
Community, faith, believing in one another,
things you
just
can't
taking
see.
care
Yeah,
of each
the
other,
things you can't see. Yeah.
love in
Mhm.
between each other and people, the things you can't see,
Yep.
but things that hold us all together,
Yeah.
and things that continue to, make us all better,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I just see that with what you guys are doing. So like I said, I don't want to hold you too long.
Yeah.
It's been phenomenal.
Yeah, I can't thank you enough for letting me come down here and talk about this. Again, if anybody is if I haven't bored everybody to a point in which you have no listeners, by the end of this, again, the event's June 24th this year. It's at St. Peter and Paul School in Doylestown. We have 100 really, really good bottles of bourbon. Only selling 1,000 tickets, so you get a 1 in 10 chance of winning. All the proceeds go back to our school, and it really, really is important to the group that's doing this. So if it's something you're interested in, we'd really, really appreciate it. And again, even if you don't like bourbon, it makes a good gift, and obviously it's a donation.
Because some of these bottles
Yeah.
are
You
they're
can
not
go online.
just normal things. by
Yeah,
any
and
means.
you're not going to be able to walk into a store and find these. I'm actually DJing the event this year. Yeah, I'm going to
Ooh,
MC
you gonna
the
sketchy
event.
scratch?
I don't know if I'm going to get into the music. Hopefully they have a playlist. Hopefully they got a playlist in there.
No turntables?
I'll get some White Buffalo. We'll
Okay.
put some White Buffalo
Okay,
on
there
there. And I'll be able to talk about some of the history about some of the bottles and things like that. And it should be a really, really good time. But it's important to us. So if it's something you guys would want to do, or
If somebody can't make it that day, but they want to buy tickets for the bourbon raffle, that's okay.
Yep, you don't have to be at the live event in order to win. With every ticket you buy, you got to put in either an email or a phone number. So we'll email or then call you, and then we'll have a couple dates after the event that you can come pick up the bottle. Push comes to shove, even if you're not in the area, we'll get it to you some way somehow. But yeah, good question.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Casey, thank you very much.
Man, I appreciate
it
you
was
guys.
a
Thank you so
fantastic
much.
time. I appreciate you spending time with us. Thank you for joining us today. Remember, check out the website, chronic-curiosity.com, to join us at the forum, have some fun, interaction, pick you up a comfy t-shirt, or if you just want to support the show and donate, all that is on the website as well. Thank you. Until next time. See ya.